call the meeting to order. Please stand by. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a roll. John. Here. Dale. Here. Ron. Here. Sean. Here. Troy's here. Approval of the agenda.
The only thing that changed since I sent it to you last night is Bob got added, and then Bob and Travis got switched, and then the Games of Chance and NRG got switched. But other than that,
And we're having a weed meeting.
that's on a different agenda on its own. Do you want it to be added?
Oh, we can just have it after we're done with this one.
So I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Sean to approve the agenda. Is there a second to the motion? Second. Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the minutes from the last meeting on the 4th of September.
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented and dispense with the reading.
It's been moved by Ron to approve the minutes of the previous meeting and dispense with the reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to the bills.
With the bills, we got 2 of them in the mail today. This one for Verizon, it's for the CWB's Verizon. It's got to be paid by October 3rd. So and that's not on your list. So if you want to look at that, and then we did have the lease payment for the Bank of North Dakota.
That's not due till November, is it?
It's due. It's not due for a little while.
Does anybody want to look at the cell phone bill? It's $106. Or just add it to your list. This is the phone, see it, Gary?
Correct.
What's the Wold Johnson PC?
That is a payroll deduction that's taken out of Bob's.
Okay.
I'll get to that one.
What is it?
There it is.
Top in the top 3 there.
This one is
I
due
just
on.
hadn't seen it before, so.
Yeah, it just started.
Where? It's a garnishment up on top.
Oh, you're in the minutes, next page.
Sure.
October 25th.
Oh,
Still can't get my eye right, which number?
Right here.
Oh, okay. And what is that?
A payroll deduction for Bob.
but we don't need to do this today.
We don't have to, no.
I just haven't seen that.
No,
Before.
first time I've seen it, I think.
Well, it's a garnishment.
Yeah, before it was Aberdeen, Aberdeen something.
Well, that's still in there.
That's still in there.
Oh, okay. What's the deal on the Vanguard appraisals?
Yeah,
Why
this
did
is
we
gonna-
I think that's the one that she was up talking to you guys last time, that he was here and she got that training and
But the last time she said we had like, I don't know what it was, 12 credits, and she used 6 credits, and we still had 4 credits. I don't remember the numbers, but there was credits listed on it, and we just used some of the credits, but we had credits remaining.
So-
That was my impression.
So is it a bill for services rendered, or is it to purchase software?
16 hours.
Yeah, I don't have, what that is, the training, how much training was subtracted?
I don't think it was laid out, but I was under the impression that she was using up a credit, and then she was asking for more money for additional training.
And I said no to that,
Right.
Yeah.
because there was no credits
Doesn't
involved.
that sound right?
Oh, I thought that she got this training and then she said that she was going to have him bill us for what she had already done.
No, I thought she came in and asked permission for more training.
No, she'd already, well, yeah, but.
She had gotten,
this
she
is
had already
for what
gotten
she's
some, she'd
had.
already done some training before she came up asking for
Right.
more.
But what, don't you recall a credit on
I
that?
do.
Okay.
Sorry.
I do. She said she was using up credits.
Yeah.
There was 3 or 4 credits left, and then she was asking for additional money for
She
training.
bought a block of time.
Yeah.
She wanted to purchase a block of time.
Wanted to purchase
Yeah,
additional.
another
block.
one. Does the invoice say anything about credits? Probably not.
It doesn't say anything about credits, does it, Troy?
Software service hours contract, 2015, 16 service plus hours to cover 11.25 hours of training.
What's that?
I mean, it looks,
And then there's a credit left over of 4 hours?
I don't get it.
Would you like me to go gather? Would you like me to go gather?
Got billed for 16 hours. For 11.25 hours of training. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Do you want her to?
I make a motion, they don't get it yet.
You know. So we get some
I
spleen.
think we should remove that from the bill until we get some verification on what happened.
Okay.
I'll second.
Been moved by John, seconded by Ron to remove the Vanguard appraisals voucher from the bills to be paid today. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Ron? Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay.
Do you need a motion for that Vanguard bill and that lease payment? Or can we just add those?
Verizon, you mean?
Or Verizon, yeah, I'm sorry.
Verizon and the lease payment, yep.
We need a motion.
Well, I don't know if,
I don't know either, that's a question.
I guess if you guys just want to add it to yours and then
I'm not sure, I think. we-
make a motion to approve them and
How much was Verizon?
106.
And that was for county weed board, or county weed.
Welfare, 106.84. The Bank of North Dakota, that lease payment is a interest-only payment in the amount of $24,726.68.
I don't think that should be added to today's bill list.
Might throw Moody's for a loop if we pay it a month early.
If we pay it.
Well, we're gonna end up paying it. Otherwise, we broke the lease.
Yeah.
I don't really wanna go in front of the judge.
When's the due date?
October 25th.
We can wait.
We can wait, yep.
Doesn't matter, one way or the other.
I move we pay the September bills and vouchers with the addition of Verizon for 106.84 and the deletion of Vanguard for 1920.
Been moved by Sean to approve the September bills and September vouchers minus the Vanguard bill, and in addition, add the $106.84 that was received from Verizon. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Try to vote aye. Motion carried. Got mixed up. Okay. Jenny and Wayne.
Looks like I have page 7. 17 for it. Every year they send out a letter where they have special road funds from the North Dakota DOT. It looks like it's for recreational areas, historical areas, finance, highway projects. Maximum is 60%, which would be 250 to 300,000. And it's, I think maybe the city tried that once for a bike path or something to go around.
It's like a scenic tour of the Cheyenne Valley where we need box culverts.
Make it a tour. Make it a tour.
Say the township can apply for these funds
It
also.
says township can apply for it.
So maybe we can get them to throw some money on to go down to the high bridge. Where that boat ramp is.
Maybe.
Game and Fish used to give us a
Yeah.
little bit and then they kind of started to ignore us.
Okay. Yeah.
We got extra money this year, so.
They do?
This is township, so it's up to you then to pursue that. I don't know if it still goes through the county or not. It might.
Yeah, it says county, cities, and state agencies.
And it says,
The equation has to be sponsored by a county.
yeah, sponsored by the county. Which I think we'd be glad to sponsor that. I know Alan Jackson used to call him up and say, yeah, we need some gravel down there, because he knew the guys down the dam down there, and then they.
Those applications are due in November.
I don't know what would all entail and some type of estimate of what the conflict was to improve the road down there, whatever.
I know we've submitted lots of applications for those, so I can sure send you one of something we've submitted in the past, so you can kind of see the information that goes into it. And then if it's something you want to take care of, you can. If it's something you want us to help with, we can sure do that. So,
You could help with providing an estimate for them to do, right?
yeah, so,
Okay. And the next page is the meeting at the North Dakota Association of Counties, that we meet with the DOT on any future projects, road projects.
We must-
We're probably gonna put the chip seal.
We must not have that.
Something project.
Go ahead.
Be our
Flip the
next-
page.
That's a county commissioners association annual meeting.
Isn't that what you're talking about, Wayne?
For,
Yeah.
Pardon?
for federal aid.
Yes.
It's during the,
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
This is, we meet with DOT, if that's convenient for anyone, October 27th at 1:20. If not, then they can try for a different time slot. I think that is over on Tuesday.
We don't go to Wednesday anymore.
This doesn't work off we still have a meeting or two in between that time, so we can discuss or meeting.
Somebody from the county commission is supposed to be at their meetings?
It's nice that they are, last year they was there.
Okay.
He was out west, he stopped by there. So you guys are the ones with the authority. But I think, if there's any paper to sign or whatever, they usually send that back and we
Yeah.
sign it and then send it. Right now, you see I don't have a copy of it with, but I think there was anything on the agenda after we did this. Because they extended us a couple of years of payments in advance, so Washington. So we had
Because
to
we
go
had a
in.
couple of years worth of federal aid money to get one project done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't be set up for 2000, well, it wouldn't be for 16, right? We'll have to see what happens, but
It's still nice to keep, even if your projects, have projects put on that federal aid sheet, your program sheet, even if you aren't going to do them for 3 years out, it's good to have them on there, to have the cost in case there's other counties that maybe plan to do projects and can't do them, and they've got federal aid money left for that year, they need to use it regardless, so, it's nice for them to be able to see those on there.
Yeah, so they should have something on,
Yeah.
in the band if they,
Yeah, and they can come, hey, you guys have a seal coat, and those, can have a project that can be put together more quickly than maybe some big grading jobs or something, so it's good to keep them on there.
and then we could decide, we'll have to decide if we want to do that bridge on these funds. Because that was one thing Brian Fuchs at the North Dakota DOT said, that we could prioritize the bridge by Greg Dowles ahead of the bridge by Deckers. And then we could use funds from the bridge fund, which is a separate fund up from the highway paving and facility stuff.
But it's a higher
It's
25% match instead of 10.
I don't remember what the match is.
It's the same, 80/20, for bridge funds and the same for,
20% of the fund, but I think we just determined that you could use if there was any funds left over, like from the projects, you could use those funds to do that. Is that correct?
Yep.
Some of this oil money, if there was some money left, we could use that as our 10% in the project, instead of paying 100% of it. So I think that's all I have. I questioned about the retrievers. I didn't get answers back for quite a while. Finally, I got some yesterday. I talked to operators out in Dunn County. They have 3 of the front-mounted Balderson style, but they weren't crazy about them because of the visibility of the front part of the gang was, in front of the wheel. It was hard to see. And then I would throw material up on a wheel instead of on the road.
Oh, really?
So, but that's what they got, so that's what they're using. The operators didn't really like them, but that's what they had, so. The guy I talked to said he would rather have the tractor one or the one on the mower. I talked to Titan from, about that.
I guess you're probably not using the moldboard if you're doing
No.
that anyway, because you're going way too fast.
Yeah, the moldboard is up. He said you could get more brackets if you didn't want to change the brackets every time you change the retriever. You could put, if you're going to use it on a moldboard, so that you could have what the brackets are. He's going to look at the cost of just buying the brackets to bolt onto the moldboard. Then all you had to do was pull a pin out, he said, and put the retriever on there. As long as it isn't in the way of any, like the wings.
So you could put it on a different machine. Those 3-point ones aren't that fun to put on either. I've done it. They're kind of clumsy.
And then Gilbertson's, you did see Gilbertson's bid on that. Last week,
That's when I thought it was a bid.
or last 2 weeks ago.
I thought
Tom
it was
wasn't-
a landscaping bid, and then it was,
Oh, yeah. D&K.
So, I mean, weren't gonna decide that yet anyway.
That'll be a budget item for next year anyhow, but at this
Well,
point.
they said they would extend the both RDO and tighten that price for a certain period of time, but they didn't know how long it could. You know, if the price of metal and stuff goes up, they would have to go up the price, so. Then I'll turn it over to Jenny.
Okay. I'm here today because Jake, I think he told you guys last time he had something going on. He wasn't able to make it to the meeting today, but he had some follow-up conversations with the district regarding this federal aid seal coat project. So rather than let that sit for a couple more weeks, I volunteered to come up and see you guys. So I know, and obviously I haven't been here for some of these conversations that have been kind of ongoing around this, but Jake's been keeping me in the loop, and I believe where it last left off was essentially in talking with Ed Pavlish with the Grand Forks District of the DOT. I guess I'll back up a second. Aztec, the contractor, has several projects that they didn't get done this year. There's the September 1st deadline in the spec book as far as you can't start seal coats after that date. That date is there to, one, to protect the owner just because of if there's any question of the durability or just because of the lower temps that you start getting in the fall. But regardless, Aztec had several projects that they were not able to finish. There were several in the Grand Forks District, both for the state, a few counties. I know there was a couple, at least one city, and then also in one of the districts out west. I think Billings County was one of the counties that maybe had some work, just as long as some other work just for the districts. So as a whole, because the funding is the same on all these projects, the districts had already been talking about how they're going to handle the situation. It sounded like this had also come up last year with this contractor. So they decided that, and I think Jake maybe went through this with you, if not, sorry if I'm repeating this, but they essentially, what the district has done in the past and what they have said they are planning to do this year is they process a change order. And what essentially that does is it changes the completion date from whatever it was, whether it was August or September 1st, changes it to June 1st of next year. In your guys' case, your completion date was August 28th, so that would mean there'd be like 3 days of LDs at the end of this year. But what the district will do then, they won't charge any LDs, liquidated damages, from September 1st until June 1st. If the contractor comes in and starts working to do the project before June 1st, that's when LDs would start. But otherwise, LDs will start on June 1st. So if they don't come in until July, they're going to have a month plus of LDs basically until all the work is done, including the permanent striping. Along with that, I've got a copy of that change order. I can send that on to you guys too. As far as what the district had done last year, and Ed said they're planning to do the same thing this year. So the LDs was one thing. All contracting expenses will remain at the original bid price. The other thing they talked about was if the contractor hasn't stockpiled his materials yet, and if he were to decide to do that like this fall or over the winter or whenever, he's going to get charged for every day that he spent stockpiling. So they're going to penalize him in that regard too. Obviously he didn't have a material stockpile yet and he was not going to get the job done. So they've outlined $500 for every day of hauling that is done to stockpile their materials. They had something in here too about if there's any damage done on the roadway so let's say, okay, you plan to seal the road this year. If you end up with a bunch of blowouts over the winter that we didn't have any weak spots or anything showing up now, then the contractor would be responsible for repairing those prior to sealing the road at their cost. The other interesting one in here was that Aztec, not the NVDOT, will be responsible for any accidents that can be attributed to the seal coat not being placed during the 2015 season. So that one kind of surprised me to have that in there because I'm not really sure how easy that would be to pin on them, but regardless. So I believe where it left off last time was essentially the DOT had told us that, okay, this is what they've collectively decided to do on these types of projects and how to handle the situation. So in a way, our hands were tied because this change order that we have to write up that outlines how the LDs are going to be assessed has to go through the DOT for approval. And initially, Ed told Jake that the DOT wouldn't approve it because if we did anything differently, if we decided to charge LDs through half the winter or something along those lines. So that was the initial conversation. I know that then you guys were wanting a little more information from Ed, from the district, kind of outlining, exactly what you guys could or couldn't do. Ed was not willing to provide a letter, and he then made it, this is the part that's really fun. So then he called Jake and
Plausible deniability.
Does that realize by that comment he's going to provide an explanation for this?
This is the part where Jake was just like, what the hell? He's like, these guys are gonna kill me. This just gets better and better. So I think that was on Friday when Ed said, no, you guys basically have to do what the district is doing. They've set the precedent, that's what we need to do. Ed then calls Jake the following week, so right after Labor Day, and then tells him that, well, I might have misspoke, and that, you guys could still, however you decide you want to assess the situation, put together your change order to that effect. It'll go to the DOT. They may or may not approve it, but he's like, ultimately, the contractor signs off on the change order as well. And he said, the contractor's probably not going to take what you give them the first time because they're getting a better deal from the district on every other project that they have the same thing. So what would ultimately happen is then we'd be negotiating with the contractor and try to come to some sort of deal. And I obviously can't see into the future to know how that negotiation would go, but there's a chance that ultimately you would end up right back at the same deal, if you call it a deal, that the district had provided on the other projects.
So what's the point of a contract?
So why don't we just take the stance that we vote to enforce the contract and leave it at that? Why negotiate away any advantage we have before we even see what that advantage could bring us? Mm-hmm. And then let Ed respond to that. Let's just say we're going to leave the contract in force and go by the provisions of the contract.
Just signed by all parties.
What's the worst that can happen? They can make us do what they're trying to make us do now. Why is Ed, whoever Ed is, why is he being complicit in the fact that they're not completing this chip seal, and why is he giving them cover for that when they signed the contract?
And Ed is the assistant district engineer for Grand Forks County. Yeah. This isn't just coming, like Ed isn't just dreaming this up and he's not in cahoots with the contractor or anything along those lines. This is coming initially, there's been several discussions because like I said, this did happen last year. So internally, the DOT had discussions over last winter looking at some options for other ways to assess penalties. And apparently they didn't come to a conclusion last year. But
I would say if you have a contractor that continually does this over every year, then you're not penalizing them enough because they don't have any incentive not to do what they've done for the last 2 years running. So why would they get to the end of this season and these guys got this pile of work that they didn't get done again? and say, let's do the same thing we did last year. That worked so well.
Yeah.
And we're guaranteed to have a season full of jobs the following.
And I'll give Ed the benefit of the doubt that he's not in cahoots with the contractor, but his actions are looking otherwise. So, and
It's coming from Bismarck. I mean, he's not making this decision. I get that. But it still looks like a bad idea, because the reason you have performance language in contracts is so that people step up to the plate and do what you've agreed upon, and they're not doing it. So why leave the provisions of that penalty the same when it didn't work last time?
but you're right. And when they give us a
I mean, I
determination.
ain't not giving you hell, but
They give us a determination, and before we can even assess the determination, they start backpedaling and say we didn't mean it. I mean, I've been in enough negotiations to figure this one out. It's so hard to do. We have a contract. Prove to us that that contract isn't valid or it should be changed. Because we wouldn't be given the same latitude if we were in violation.
No way.
No. That's my opinion.
so if we do nothing, then there is no change order. I mean, there's no provision in that contract that says if we don't hold up our end of the deal, the county will write an amendment to the contract or an extension, right? So if we leave it in place, it's still in place.
Right, I think there just have to be something communicated to the contractor that, saying, as of this point, the completion date of the contract was August 28th, and as of this point, the work is not done, so you will be assessed LDs until the work is done. And something in there about the work being done according to the spec, as far as the temps and whatever.
But that's all in the contract.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as you're in violation of the contract, you'll be assessed per the contract specs, and that's it. We don't have to specify what we're gonna do. The contract already says what we have the right to do. There's no use for a contract if we're not going to adhere to it, and if we have a chronic contractor that keeps doing this and we keep allowing it with the help of the state, just as we probably can't have the change order go through unless they sign off, they can't have it go through unless we sign off.
Leave it stand.
So we just did nothing.
Do nothing.
Have Jamie send them a letter saying you're in violation of the contract and see what happens.
Okay.
Alright.
Bureaucracy sure operate funny.
What's that?
Bureaucracy sure operate funny compared to what I'm used to.
Do we need a motion to direct Jamie to write the letter? Or do we just tell him to write the letter?
Well, I don't know if we need a motion. I think it's in violation of the contract.
I think that's
Contracts.
under his bailiwick.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you want Jamie to send that letter, or did you want that to come from us?
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know what proper. You guys are managing it.
they administer the contract. They administer the contract for us.
Would you like?
I guess you're it then.
I am really good at writing letters.
I was hoping Ed was going to come and talk.
You may.
As far as that,
Ed, don't leave town.
I just, would you guys be all right with us copying the district on that letter so they're
Sure.
aware of what,
Why not?
what direction you're going? Okay.
I mean, I think obviously this affects everybody that has a contract with this contractor. Before this, I mean, I don't know why the counties weren't brought into the discussion before this point, really, because everybody knew it was happening. Nobody's talked to us. Nobody's said anything. They just say, well, this is what we're going to do and this is what you have to do too. End of story. That's not really how the world works, is it?
Well, then our signature wasn't required in the contract, but it was required in the contract, so we have to stand up to what our obligation is. Our obligation is to make sure they perform that contract so the taxpayers get what they do need. justly do. And just because someone else has a prior arrangement with this contractor shouldn't affect us. We have only one arrangement with them, the contractor signed it.
Oh, you'll get that letter sent.
And then they'll come and talk to us, and we'll negotiate something. That's the way it works.
As it stands with their proposal, they're not gonna need penalized.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, very minimally.
And they got that loophole of September 1st.
yeah.
But
That's not a loophole, that should be,
That's the end.
that should be a hammer. It says, we need to work overtime, we need to get our stuff done here, because we agreed that we
Well,
can
look
get
at-
this
look
much
at what
work
happened to
done.
the weather though, I mean, that first week afterwards, it was still beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, when they signed the contract, they were aware that it had to be done by August 28th. That's the purpose of an end date on a contract. If you can't do it by then, don't sign the contract.
Well, Jenny was saying there's only like 2 chip seal companies that have been bidding on all these projects. The one we had last time, Morris, and then these guys. So they get so much work, they know they can line up their,
Yeah, they have no competition.
Yeah.
It's just the two, with all the contractors that come to the state for all
so
of
if anybody's got any extra money they want to invest into it.
You just reinforced my position. Why should we enable them?
Yeah, I know, they should be a bigger penalty, it should be banned, $100,000 or something. That makes
Or
them,
the threat of 100. Maybe it isn't that. Maybe that just brings them to the table and makes them. But we have to have some means of negotiating with them. And if we give it all away, we don't have a means of negotiation.
because that $500 a day would be, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're just doing it for 3 days or 5 days or not until you.
Yeah.
And maybe they have a legitimate reason, and they come to us and we agree with their reasoning. I don't know.
Yeah, and Jake did, I mean, when they sent that first, when the contractor sent the letter, he followed up with them saying, you have specific, basically asking them, why are you unable to do this, what's come up, and as far as I know, as of still today, they hadn't responded to that, so. And they, did they
I
have?
forgot about that job.
They
forgot about that job.
They hadn't stockpiled or anything,
Yeah.
no.
That's the other thing that-
We had to finish all last year's first. So.
I had a similar situation happen when I first got into government firefighting and I missed the deadline on the contract, and I went before the board and I told them everything that was what had happened, and they all sat and looked at me and they went like this. They said, "Is that your name on that contract?" And I said, "Yep, I got it." End of story.
The negotiations are complete.
Yeah. That's the purpose of a contract.
That's it.
Last meeting, Johnny had asked me to get that they are the engineer for all those Senate bill and House bill things, and that's what I found for you. They were the only contractor that I guess bid on it. So.
There was 2, we just selected Caleb.
I think there was only one for this one.
Oh, for this.
That was
deal.
a different one, I think.
Oh, okay.
I just want, what was the date when we did this?
That sticky note that's right on the front. What's that date on that sticky note?
July of this year?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Jenny? I have a couple of questions. Regarding our graveling project, I got a little bit of feedback on the transition from you to Jake. There was some issue with the scale. Gilbertsons are using their loaders, the scales on their loaders to load the trucks.
Yep.
I think you had agreed to that with them prior.
Yep, and then I know Jake, when he talked with Tom, they were talking about needing another scale, and then Jake talked with me, and they were allowed to use the lower scale.
Okay.
Yep.
That process didn't go as smoothly as it should have.
In regards to that project?
As
or-
far as the interaction between Kale, Jake, and the contractors, and I received the same phone calls. It wasn't, that was the net end result, but it didn't, there was quite a bit of friction involved to get to that point.
Is there anything else specifically, or anything you care to share?
No, that's fine.
But if there are specific things, and we don't have to do it in this setting, I guess, but I'd appreciate a phone call, yes.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I can say is it's not a master-servant relationship between the contractors and the engineer, and that was the impression that I got from talking with Gilbertsons, that it was a hard line, you're gonna do this, and this, and this, and then because I say so. And we have a lot invested in Gilbertsons. They own all the gravel that's going to go whether they do the project or not. And they are local contractors, and I think there should have been. It should have went smoother anyway. I don't know if Jake was trying to stick up for the county or what it went or what happened, but there was some friction between Gilbertsons and Jake, you know, that, over this issue.
I think there was probably a little bit of maybe not knowing what to expect from as far as Gilbertson comes in. I know with these types of projects, you know, even the state funded or federal aid type job, there's a lot of paperwork, and it seems ridiculous and awful and painful. So I do know the gal that was back in the office for us that takes care of the paperwork. I know she was trying to fill out a lot of that information for Tom, you know, to try and ease some of that, because it's awful. And that's not us trying to be jerks or make their life miserable too. So just knowing that part of it. And I thought I talked with Tom about that last fall, just so he was aware. But I mean, at that time too, it was even a scale issue too that we talked about. We try and make it. It's a simple project. So we were trying to not overcomplicate it, but just knowing that some of the funding, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for letting that happen, but just know too, some of that funding makes a lot more paperwork that if you're not used to doing just local projects or things like that, you don't have to do half that. Probably 95% of that crap that I think we do for ours too.
Well, I know that it was favorable for you because they wish that you were the engineer that was back there dealing with them.
That's easy to say when he's only talking to me on the phone. So, careful what you wish for. I mean, that's ultimately too. I mean, not knowing all the circumstances of every situation, but I mean, knowing that we are out there for you guys, trying to get the best product for you. So, I mean, just I guess know that that's our sincere reason for being here. So, but yeah, if there are other things, though, definitely please give me a call and let me know, because I would like to correct them if there is an issue that's, especially if it's a recurring issue or just any issue. So. How did that project turn out as far as just have you guys been on that road or?
I have not.
I
mean,
Hanford one? Yeah, it seems to be pretty decent.
Same foot.
Yeah.
They could use the rain so they could blade it as it's starting to get
fluffy. These projects that are funded the way those are, it's too much material to put on at one time. You wouldn't do that if you were doing it here. I mean, if they didn't require that, it's
Pretty hard to get it packed correctly.
can't get it packed good enough. There's no way. It's too much.
Yeah, since they don't let you do a true gravel maintenance, because gravel maintenance you might end up having a half an inch or maybe an inch if you're lucky. I mean, definitely a lot less material you're putting out there in one shot. So This is almost more of a reconstruction without the full reconstruction, so.
So the first time it rains, it's four-wheel drive only. You know, until it takes some doing to get that much.
Took a lot of water, you know, they tried to really water, but when it was warm up, whatever, you evaporated before you get back again, you know.
There's so many fines on top now, first rain, it's gonna be a little slick.
Definitely some things to think about, you know, as we get additional graveling projects, or, I know we've been talking with Wayne too about, you know, if there's some other things that should be part of the project, you know, some of the cleaning up of the shoulders, you know, that's
Well,
things
that
that you make
needs,
part of or after.
that needs to start happening. I'm convinced that that's, if you don't do that, you're shingling a house with a bad foundation.
Well, same with that, and if the other roads that you guys are looking at graveling too, if there's, you know, if there's
It's just
soft
that, it's
spots.
the 105.5 requirement is
Yeah.
what gets us into this, putting this much material on.
Yeah.
And
that's the
we're not
one.
gonna get around that, so it is what it is.
Yeah, we're stuck with it at this point, right? But yeah, just keep in mind if there are other things, if you do happen to drive the project, and there's some things that, you know, why can we have done this or that, just to keep those in mind and let Wayne know at least. So as you guys look at your next graveling job, we can
And I know
make
this
improvements.
next time, we're gonna shave the approaches off. Because we didn't know they were gonna gravel all the approaches, well, then some of the approaches got to be higher than
The road.
the road, and when we could have just cut them off in the fall or something, and shaved out into the field, and worked it out. That way, when you come with the gravel, it's
It's
not.
all the same.
Yeah. Once the approach is higher than the road, well, then the snow comes along and stops. We're all learning, kind of, we never been lucky enough to have that much material and stuff, you know, at one time.
It's a lot, it's a lot different than how much you usually get to put down in a while, so.
Okay.
And then there was a letter, you guys saw that email that come around from Brian Griggs, requesting the projects and stuff, and Dick did answer that and provide the information that we had agreed upon and voted on the last time.
Okay.
For the 4 feast projects in 2015, or 16. So, taken care of. Do I attend the week meeting?
Sure.
Huh?
Sure.
Or can I head for Elgin?
Elgin.
There's
Pheasant
nothing?
hunting or what?
Huh?
From pheasant hunting?
Well, my son lives out there.
Oh.
No, the weed meeting's nothing to do with.
The weed meeting will be, we're just gonna talk about that common mullion
Okay.
and whether or not we should put that on the noxious weed list for the county. So I wouldn't hang around for that.
Thank you.
We'll check for weeds in Elgin.
See if you see any common mullion on it.
The dreaded common mullion.
Not the great.
All right.
Have fun.
Thanks. We will.
I will get a copy of one of our SRF applications, I'll get that sent to Wayne. And so if you guys have that township project or whatever, if you need help, just let me know.
I'll talk to the guys on the township board and see if we.
I don't think there's a heck of a lot that goes in those apps, but they're usually pretty
Should
straightforward.
gravel the road to the dam too, I should talk to.
If not qualified.
But I'm qualified too.
Reshape that road and put a culvert in there where that one's bad and get some gravel on
Some of
there.
the local fishermen don't want a good road down there. They want to just.
Well,
I don't want anybody to know.
There's a video of a local engineering disaster if you want to watch that.
I was wondering, that's for a foundation or something.
Somebody got bad
He's over
engineering.
there.
Is that the bin?
Yeah, video of it collapsing.
Turn up the volume.
Where's it
You
going?
can hear the bolts breaking in there, it's just.
Yeah. That's the bolts breaking. They're shooting.
Seems like they're pretty close to being
Just like
Well, you wait till he takes up.
Is that the
sounds of it.
And they left it on the YouTube video.
Oh. It's like blowing the spring in a feed bag. I haven't seen it yet.
Who took the video?
Somebody that was, I think it was one of Paul Croplain's guys, they were down there doing some concrete work.
All that happens.
Bolts breaking.
I forgot to mute that part, sorry.
The whole bin comes out, both bins.
One bin was empty, the one that was half full just wiped out the empty one.
Catwalk and everything.
When did that happen?
2 days ago?
Night before last.
Okay.
Day, no, noon, day before yesterday.
I haven't touched anything.
All right.
All right, we'll get that letter sent out for you guys.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
if anything else comes up, let us know.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Harold Rotunda.
Well, that should be quick, though. I just made the changes we talked about, and actually I updated it. I thought that I had the wrong back page. I appreciate it called me that. So it is now, this is the new one with that on there. There we go. So, and again, if there's any questions on how those numbers are changed,
How come this one so much?
both sides. I did both sides. I went to the single side and that one.
I,
I don't have the 3D.
Samantha was a waste of paper.
Sorry, I didn't realize he was gonna bring it.
So, if there are any questions on that, if you look at it, just kind of highlight a couple things just to know that there is no longer a component unit page because they're blended, so you don't see that. And everything is one column, so if you go to like page 4 and 5, you just see the one column primary, which includes everything. So, and then if you go to the last 2 pages, which is 27 and 28, on page 27, what you will see is the last 3 lines of the funds show the Water Resource Board, the Water Resource District Fair Board, and JEA included as part of the county number, which is on those pages 4, 5, 6, and 8. And then the other thing, just for clarification again, and that's one thing that we talked about last time, John, you mentioned on page 2, if you look at it, the component unit we talk about is the building authority because of the lease agreement. And that if the lease agreement is not there, then you have, that's a tie that is an anchor around your neck, legally.
You're wrong.
I mean, as far as included, and
No, it's not a component unit, and I looked it up. And a component unit is an entity that can cause you unknown financial liability.
right.
It's not possible with the building authority. We have a lease agreement, we have a set amount, and so that they cannot cause any undue financial responsibility. Also,
Unrecorded, not
but they can't do that. Also, we don't have their financial records available. They're not a public entity. We couldn't even include them into this audit because they are a private entity. Thirdly, go to page 21 of your
Okay.
you already include the lease agreement in your audit.
Right.
Okay, so now you're including the lease agreement because that is an obligation that we are bound to, but now you're going back and disavowing the whole audit because you said it is a component of the county. It can't be both.
And I tell you what I'd like to do, John, I tell you, I'll ask the ICPA for a ruling, and with your criteria. I'd love to know too. Your argument is not bizarre and without merit, which some people have.
I'll take it a lot farther than that. My argument is correct.
And see, and this is part where we talked about this last time. Is if the people above me, and also it's going to come down to the state auditor. If the state auditor would say, "I'm going to reject your report because you did not disavow this and you did not include it," so I'm going to ask him that opinion and get it from him and say, "Will you reject this report if it doesn't include it?" If he says, "No, I will accept it," then I will gladly take that off.
But the thing is, when I read the Attorney General's opinions dealing with these, that we don't have the capability to sign a 20-year contract for a lease. We have to approve that expenditure on an annual basis. And if we choose next year not to renew the lease for whatever reason, the building authority has very little recourse.
Would you have any problem if they go to the state auditor and get something?
That's the wrong approach, because the state auditor doesn't understand the situation. Here's my final argument with her.
Okay.
If we told you right now, yes, you have to include the financial status of the building authority in this report, how would you do that? Because we don't have it.
I would recommend, what I'd say is you would need to make a formal request as a county to them. Say, we would like to have your stuff. No, but that's how
and that is proof that they are not part of the county, is because the water board, every one of those other entities that are part and are set aside, we have those records. We can obtain them. So your opinion here is based on their cooperation, and they don't have to cooperate because they are a private entity.
No, actually, my opinion is based on the other side of the food chain. Whatever the building authority does is irregardless. I really don't care what they do. My point is, if the state auditor will not accept the report, or if the ICPA says you cannot issue this opinion on it, and that's who I got to watch out for. And your argument, like I said, that's why I really want to do that with those two entities, because I want to say, you know what? I think what you say, because you guys made one significant factor. You made a point of making sure the bylaws changed so you were not part of it. And when you did that, because if you look at every other building authority, like when I showed you Grand Forks, right? They are still the building authority.
Okay, but
so you're right.
let me read you the governmental definition of a component unit.
Okay.
Component units can be organizations for which the nature and significance of the relationship with the primary government are such that exclusion would cause the reporting entity's financial statements to be misleading due to close relations and financial integration with the primary government.
Yep.
The only financial arrangement we have with the building authority is the lease agreement, and the lease agreement, the amount is recorded in the audit. They are not a component unit of Griggs County. It's plain and simple by that definition.
Right, and if you look at that's why I'm going, I'll go through this stuff. If you look at the Grand Forks report,
we're not Grand Forks, and that's a building authority of a different nature. They have, no, it is not. They have an ongoing obligation to fund the component unit. We have an ongoing obligation to pay a lease agreement on a yearly basis. It is completely different. Just because they named this thing, the building authority of Griggs County does not mean it. I can call my dog a duck, but he's not a duck.
But I get you to put in writing these arguments and say this is why, so I can have it documented. I mean, would that be a problem, John, or not? I love it.
I'm not a lawyer.
It's
plain and simple that this is not a component unit, and why you keep pushing this, I don't know.
I don't want to push it. I don't want to push it. I'll guarantee you.
Then take it out. Take it out and turn it in, and see if the Attorney General makes you put it back in. How's that?
Well, you're going to do it that way. I mean, put this thing hopefully to bed. What do you want to do with 13? Because remember the 13 report you accepted did have it in it. Do you want me to go back to 13 and pull that out? No, but do you want me to as commissioner or not?
I think the only way to highlight what was done here is to leave it in 13 and make it right in 14.
Okay, that's all I'm wondering, because if you do that, then I'll guarantee you it's going to be a red flag, because you're saying you had a building authority in 2013 in your report and you did it in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're probably going to go, what happened?
What happened was the previous commissioners tried to pull the wool over the taxpayers' eyes and report it as the building authority, and we set the record straight. That's what happened.
Do you consider, let's go back to page 21.
Yeah.
Okay? Do you consider at least a 1-year lease right now? Or a 20-year lease? Legal. Your total status right now.
I think that is a question.
I know that is, but that's where the chink I have. If you had a 1-year lease and you said, we're gonna look at it next year and decide, but the other commission signed a lease agreement for more than 1 year.
But that still does not make it, that still doesn't, we still.
But
know
by
that-
statute, I don't think that was even, they weren't able to do that.
Right.
I mean,
No, I understand what you're saying.
it goes back to the flavor of this legislation when it was passed. That if we leased the old loader building to store our maintainers in, every year we'd make a decision whether we wanted to continue to lease the building. And if all of us went and did something else and there was 5 new commissioners and they said, no, we're gonna leave them sit outside next year. They could make the decision not to fund that lease and they could terminate the lease and the loader building would go back to the owner and they could lease it to somebody else and nobody is hurt. But what they did is tie the lease payment to a long-term obligation, but I don't know that that makes it legal.
Okay, and again, the legal side, when we talked about this last time, is the area where you get legal advice, and that's why I don't know if Jamie wants to write something up or not.
Well, I mean, so.
It's the same reason that they couldn't go borrow the money and do it as the county.
but-
Harold, because you can't
I know,
obligate
but-
future commissions.
But you're not being consistent in your component unit also.
Oh, I know.
Let me finish. Then why isn't the Bank of the West a component unit of Griggs County? We're leasing a building from them right now. The same thing. We have a lease agreement with them and we're leasing it, but they're not a component unit of Griggs County.
No, but at least, and that, the capacity they say is, are you, for lack of a better term, go back to Enron, okay?
I just read your definition on it.
But what they're saying is, they are going, the accounting profession has said, and I don't necessarily agree with it, that's what I'm saying, if those two guys want to sign up on it, that's fine, but if you are trying to hide debt by setting up a separate shell corporation to hold the debt, they're saying as a profession, we are supposed to come back and say, we want transparency, this is the debt of the county, and you guys have taken very unique steps.
You're taking the same stance on this as Moody's is, that this is not a revenue bond, it's a general obligation. And it's clearly not a general obligation, it's a revenue bond, read the bond.
No, and see, from the perspective.
If it was a general obligation,
Yeah.
then you can make the leap that that the building authority debt is the county's debt. It is not.
But you disclosed it, right here in the lease, you disclosed it in 21, the lease agreement. The county has entered into a lease agreement with the Griggs County Building Authority for financial buildings. The lease payment is the interest and principal due in the lease, revenue bond. As described in Note 1C, the county utilizes the modified cash basis of the county and does not record the capital lease. Lease expenses for the year ended December 31st, 2014 was $146,000. You've already disclosed the county's financial obligation to that project, but you want to go back and then somehow disavow your whole audit here by your opinion on page 2. And that just doesn't work. You can't have it both ways.
Let's go back to page 21 again. If you look at page 21, you look at the paragraph above it, what they have you do on their leases, and this is why I asked you about the leases. If you have a 1-year lease, this is exactly how you, and this is all the disclosure you have. If you look at what they ask you to do, is say, what obligations does a county have for leases in the future? And right now, you are obligated under a lease, could be an annual lease, but it's still a lease each year, right? At this point in time? So I would, in theory, have to put the lease payment, operating lease obligation for the next 19 years. Do you want to show it that way? Could I, could you issue?
But you can't have it both ways.
Well, no.
You can't say that that the building authority is a component unit of Griggs County and then go back and show the lease agreement. It's got to be one or the other. Which is it?
Which one do you want me to do?
Can the building authority obligate Griggs County to any financial?
I don't know. See, I would love to see a legal case. I would love to see that.
There's no, you don't need a legal case. All they have is a lease agreement with us. We're not tied to the bond, it specifically says that indenture of trust. All of the lease agreement, so they are not a component entity. There's no way in the world they can be a component entity. By you putting it in there is somehow obligating the Griggs County to something they cannot be obligated to.
Do you have the updated copy of the bylaws for after you did your deal for the building authority?
It doesn't matter, you cannot change the bylaws after we've signed the agreement.
No, but you guys say you changed the bylaws to make sure you weren't on the board, right?
We didn't change, we didn't do nothing.
Okay, how did that happen? Now, see, that's the part where, because when you read the original bylaws, you guys are the board.
No,
You can't obligate
You
these
can't
guys by
obligate-
election
No,
for
no.
another board.
What I'm saying is they chose that.
The
So-
building authority made that change. The building authority made that
Did
change.
they make a change?
All of their own, they didn't tell us or notify us.
Okay. See, I wasn't sure how that process, you guys
Here's how it happened.
talked about it.
I came to a commissioners meeting after the election.
Even I changed.
We weren't installed yet.
Okay.
And those guys said, well, you guys are gonna be on the building authority because it's in the building authority bylaws.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know about the rest of the guys that just got elected, but I can tell you right now that I am not comfortable being on that building authority because I don't know exactly what's been done, and I don't want to put myself in harm's way, so I'm not going to be on that board. And they said, well, you have to, it's in our bylaws. I said, you're the building authority, change your bylaws.
Okay.
And they did.
Okay, so but I was just kind of wondering, so when you guys got to be on it, they said, they told you that they did change it.
that doesn't make any difference. They don't have authority over what Griggs County does.
No.
They can write their bylaws and they can say Barack Obama is going to be on the board. It won't make him be on the board.
The reason it comes back is when you're making those reference component unit and that definition, if you are still the board,
We never were.
no, but say, I know you never were, and that's why I say, but the original bylaw said you were.
But that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Don't you get this? The building authority has absolutely zero.
I know.
Zero authority over what the county does. None. They could say anything they want and it has no legal basis.
But see, then I don't think I should include it in 13's report.
In what?
13's report.
He probably should not have put it in 13's report.
It's
No, you probably, I
I
only
don't
should
think-
have.
That's what I'm asking, do you want me to reissue 13 with the same?
No, I want the mistake to be right. I want the mistake to be flat out with the mistake that it was.
Okay, well.
That's the purpose of this.
Okay, all right,
That's the purpose of this, that this was done wrong, and we don't want to, I am not going back and covering up something that was done wrong. I'm just trying to correct the record so that 20 years from now, someone can look back and say, well, yeah, there's what happened, and here's how they fixed it. And guess what? There's a reason that the process that allowed that building authority is not allowed anymore. And it was done very quietly, but they repealed 57.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, very quietly, because they didn't want egg in their face. But this is just one more step in that process. And you did what the last board told you to do. And you put it in there, that's fine. You know you're acting under their orders. But I'm not comfortable allowing that to go forward and covering up their mistake.
And the last clarification I really want, do you consider this an operating lease or a capital lease? Or a 1-year lease or a 19-year lease at this point?
Well, by definition, it's a capital lease if we get to the end of it.
But it can't be a capital lease until, that's why it gives you the option at the end, because it can't be a capital lease, because if it was a capital lease, then you're indebting past the 1 year. And that's why there's an option to buy, and that's why it says option at the end.
So do I put down for the next 5 years you owe money, or do I not? In your money? Just like the notes you have in the banks right now, that's for the next, do you have?
But those were done illegally too. So
I know, again, I understand that part, but this is the part where, again, we're talking about in that footnote.
I don't think by statute we can indebt future commissions.
Let me get to the lease rate. Keep going.
No, but see this, and again, I understand, you know, kind of we go through our stuff and the points you keep bringing up, and again, I understand where everything's at. The point of the matter is, for the next 5 years and next 10 years, if you want to say that, do you have on these books an operating lease payment for that building?
Hang on.
Or that there's a year-to-year lease that you as a commission choose to pay every year?
By statute, we have to budget for that lease every year. And the next 5 guys that are sitting here may or may not do that.
But now the legal agreement, and again, you go to the bond. Did the bond?
But the
say-
thing is, well,
No,
Harold,
Yeah.
if the commissioners can sign a 20-year lease, they should have been able to sign a 20-year loan.
Well,
They can't.
And they can't do that, so they can't sign a 20-year lease either.
but now technically, do you still consider the fact that a document was signed by the other commission saying that? Do you consider that valid or invalid?
I don't think the Century Code
No.
supports it.
What's the legal opinion? Is that a valid or invalid lease?
I don't know.
No, I'm looking at Gene.
We'll probably find out in a couple weeks.
Okay, I mean, but that's, the one thing, and again, like you say, both ways, John, I agree with that, not having both ways. Now, if you say the building authority is not part of you, now we're talking about this page 21 stuff. We're talking about the lease, and is this a 1-year lease where you show the 146, or do you show the 146 in essence up on top, right above it, for the next 18 years? And saying you're gonna have to pay $2 million in lease payments. And I'm not sure, see, that's the part where this whole thing, the legal status of this document being reported in this footnote, I don't know how you want to show it.
The indenture of trust refers to it as a 1-year lease. They have to, and they say specifically if the county decides to renew it
I think
on a yearly basis.
it's an annual lease.
Yeah.
Because it's the only kind of lease we can enter into.
So then the question be then after the 146 number, then do you say is the county has the option of renewing this on an annual basis through 2022? Would that be right?
That's accurate. From a statutory standpoint, that's all we have we're capable of. We can't obligate the citizens 15 years from now to a lease payment.
Well, technically they're doing it and they're saying, and this is the part where again,
That doesn't make it right.
Right, doesn't make it right, but they're gonna come back and say,
The lease agreement has an ending date of 2033, the actual document. In the indenture of trust, they refer to it on a yearly basis. So until this document is challenged, you have to assume this document's correct.
but see, it conflicts itself too though, doesn't it, like we're talking about?
Well, how do you fund for anything past a year without the vote of the people?
But when you got both those statements, and I agree, both statements are there,
Yeah.
which statement is right and which statement is wrong? I don't know.
Well, it makes no difference in the argument of whether or not this is a component unit of Griggs County, because we know whether it be a 20-year lease or a 1-year lease, what the value is going to be of that lease. So it makes no difference in the argument of the component unit. It might make a difference on page 21 how you put the long-term obligation, but from the component unit side, it makes no difference. Because the building authority cannot obligate us to something that we are not already aware of. We either have a 20-year lease or have a 1-year lease. And that's the only obligation that we can be held to. They cannot do something that will obligate us to anything more. So the component unit part of it is basically gone. It's how you want to list the lease agreement as a long-term obligation or a 1-year obligation.
That's what he's asking.
Yeah. But the component unit thing, as far as I'm concerned, is all of it. That opinion's got to go. That's all that's got to go. It's not even a consideration here.
Now, when you address that capacity of any kind of relationship, so the only thing you consider is, if you go in the building, do things change or not?
Harold,
No, I mean, I'm just asking.
you have to assess the relationship by the documents
Right.
that express the relationship. The only document between Griggs County and the building authority is a lease agreement. And whether that lease agreement is 1 year or 20 years, that is it. And we know the value of it in both instances, so it cannot be a component unit of Griggs County. They could go borrow money if they could talk someone into it, and Griggs County would not be obligated to pay that money. We're obligated to the lease agreement, and that's it. And that is the definition of what a component unit is. It is being able to obligate the county or whatever entity to debt or obligations that it was unaware of. And we're aware of every obligation that we're obligated to, because we only have one agreement with them, a lease agreement.
And at this point in time, you do say, and this comes back to the note, you do say you have an obligation until 2033 as of today.
According to the lease agreement. Now, and until that's challenged, I don't know where that stands.
So that should be set in here, or should it be an annual basis until 2033?
What's your interpretation of it? I'm not arguing about that. I'm arguing about this.
No, see, and again,
He's not arguing.
Okay.
He's asking a question.
Well, which way?
I don't know I don't know the right answer.
see, that's part where, because, I mean, this thing is clear as mud, I could use both parts. I could use the 2033, and I could use that annual. And I could say, and I could hybrid it and say, there's an annual obligation until 2033. And take it however you want, but
That's what the lease agreement said. There's an annual obligation until 2030.
But see, these are, remember we talked about last time, these are your financial statements that you have to tell me, because I can see both sides of it. And I can see putting up above it the 145 to 150,000 number every year, and it's gonna be a huge number, it's gonna say $2 million. I don't know if you guys wanna see that. That's a capital lease status. If you say, because we have an annual process, we don't have a 20-year lease, we have a 1-year lease that we have to look at every year for 20 years.
We do. We have to make the levy every year.
But if you said no, what would be the ripple effect? Would the bond company sue you, or whoever has a bond?
There's no tie to the bond. There is absolutely.
I know there's no tie, but would they in essence try to sue the building authority to sue you if they get that?
Right.
That the downloads that would fall.
Right. That's what would happen, but according to the Attorney General's opinion that I read, it specifically said in there, if in fact this political subdivision who is leasing that building decides not to lease it in the future, there will be very little recourse by the people that are holding the debt.
But see, that's why, because the bondholders can never sue you, and I agree with that, but they're going to sue the building authority, and the building authority will then sue you to try to enforce the lease agreement. In their mind, saying it's 30 to 33, not until then.
The obligation to the county is on a yearly basis, because without the county commissioners levying the tax levy every year, this thing would default. So it is a yearly basis, and that's why they state that. That's why they state that in the indenture of trust also.
Yeah, I tell you, if it just plays out that way, you triple building authorities, because building authority, that would be unsecured.
It is unsecured.
No, but officially unsecured.
And by the incompetence of the previous commissioners, it's going to get proven to be unsecured.
But I'm saying, if you really want to, because then the building authority bonds would never be sold again, because everybody look at it and say, so you mean that the next government entity could say, oh, we don't want to pay.
Are you trying to encourage us or discourage us?
You know,
You're encouraging it.
I want to see that lawsuit, because I think the points you raised.
It already started down that road. Why do you suppose they repealed the legislation? Okay.
Well, I'm just hoping. But see, the problem is they're still going. Just don't worry about that. Don't talk about Griggs County and their discussions. You can still run this group through, and then the bond guys go, "You're not going to try to threaten." Oh no, we'd never do that. So okay, we'll buy your bonds. But the fact of the matter is, this is the one part where just every point you've made, John, on this, I tell you, I love those.
I didn't make the point. I just reading it off the documents that we signed.
But everybody else doesn't read those documents. The counties, other cities, other schools don't bother with saying, well, that's Jamie's crap. He has a 30-page report that we got to sign. It means nothing. And they just go, we're going to do that. And I think ultimately, if you guys would terminate this lease, then the whole issue of building authorities in North Dakota is on the table, because they're saying if whatever, if the governmental entity is not gonna back you guys, you got nothing.
We're not gonna terminate the lease, we're going to approve it on a yearly basis by the levying of the taxes as long as it remains as long as both sides provide the obligation, or live up to the obligations set forth by the lease. That's what it says. It doesn't say that we're obligating it for 20 years. It's saying that as long as they provide the building on a yearly basis, we will provide the funds. That's what it's saying.
And in your mind, again, we'll come back to that whole deal. Are you on the hook for 20 years annually, or are you on the hook for 1 year for possibly 20 years?
No, we're as long as during this yearly cycle, both sides are providing their part of the lease agreement, we're on it for a yearly basis. And it says on a yearly basis in the lease agreement.
Okay, now, at the end of, in 2033,
Yeah.
do you own a building or not?
If
We have
if
the
you want.
option.
No. But not by default, by action.
It's not a capital lease. A capital lease states that you own it when you're done making the last payment. This lease agreement says you have the option.
Okay, what option would it be? $1?
Yes.
$1. Yep,
$1.
it's $1.
Okay.
It's still an option.
But so in theory, if you said, nah, build this piece of crap, we don't want it,
Correct.
we're gonna save her $1.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. And at this point in time, your choice is, as this commission said, you are not obligated to make that option. You've never made a total commitment of any kind.
The lease agreement doesn't give us that option because if it was a capital lease,
Yeah.
the whole thing would fall flat in its face because then
It would
why
have been
not-
illegal from the start if that was the case.
Then we issued bonds. Then the bonds were issued, or the payment of bonds were issued without the consent of the public. That's why they wrote it that way. Lawyers
No.
squirm around and walk fine lines.
Okay,
We have to honor what that lease agreement says. And they couldn't make the lease agreement binding for 20 years because they couldn't. We had always said no.
let me ask you this then. If the state auditor rejects your report, what's your action?
What's that?
If the state auditor rejects your report saying that I can't not say that, what's your action?
Make them come down and show us why.
Okay, I'm just saying, so the answer is, I answer back to them saying is, you need to talk to Griggs County and tell them why this report has not been accepted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you hear from the bond company saying, we don't see the building authority information in here.
We say it's not our responsibility. We didn't sign on our bond.
These are the kind of things where I'm just saying, you know, and you know, this is a fact where from this perspective, I trust you guys to do that. If somebody else, there's other guys that puff and puff and puff, and all of a sudden they face that, they go, ooh, well, I guess we can.
Harold, you know what we do with the
You guys
letters the bond company sends us concerning this?
No, I don't.
They go over here.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they mean nothing.
Okay, I wasn't sure, but I say, this is the part where I've seen too many times where people talk tough, and then all of a sudden they actually have to do something, they walk away. Now you guys, they're not much walkers. And
Well,
no, you're not. You're not walking. And
It's I'm not jumping off a damn cliff.
but most people don't like these battles. They don't like this confrontation. And when they come to it, they go, "We'll fall in line. We'll be like everybody else, even though we don't agree with it."
This isn't a battle. This is just trying to. I don't want to be implicated in what happened here.
Some people's mind would be considered a battle. No, and I'm just saying, if you talk to Bars County North, because they
I don't want to talk.
But I'm just saying, so they'd say, no, that's part of us, and that's what I'm saying. And they always say, I don't care what the lease says, that's us.
Yeah, I grew up in a household of bank robbers, so I'm going to be a bank robber.
I'm just gonna say, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, what is government finance right now?
Well,
If you look at, I mean, this whole process was an attempt to try to circumvent quotas.
Attempt.
Well,
It was pretty successful.
was a mechanism to circumvent voters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And and that's part where when you look at that, and everybody's like, well, just don't think about it and just do it.
But when I testified at the legislature last winter, I was the only one there that testified that this was not a proper way to go about public finance. or construction finance for public entities. The school board president, the president of the school superintendent's association was there. The West Fargo Parks director, the Fargo Parks director, the Bismarck Parks director, and how they rationalize this in their heads, not the schools so much. They just are non-repentant scalpers, but the parks, they're saying, well, if we build an ice hockey arena, the revenue from the people that use that pays for it, so it's really not a burden to the taxpayers. But the fact of the matter remains that if they come up with a bad plan and it doesn't create enough revenue to pay for the facility, the taxpayers are still on the hook because they're leasing the facility.
Okay.
So, I mean, I hate their arguments, but there was more of them than there was me.
Yeah, no, it's, Fargo use it all the time. They built their whole new cop shop, or whatever that deal on 13th Avenue. They said there's no way they could build that building without a building authority. Couldn't ever do it because they got enough money on the side, and if they said we had to vote, they'll never vote for it. And that's where Fargo School right now is on the bubble because the legislature said you are now done. You cannot have this huge levy anymore. So that huge levy, they can't have a building authority anymore because they can't fund it. So I mean,
and there you just spelled out the difference between a true building authority and what we have here. A true building authority has a yearly levy for the building authority. This has a yearly levy in support of a lease agreement, and that's the difference. They just called it the building authority of Griggs County because it fit their description, and they could try to morph and try to follow the rules of a building authority when it really wasn't that.
okay. So we're back to 1 year for 20 years. So as far as like showing numbers,
Our obligation is annual.
have you obligated for 15?
We haven't approved the budget.
We haven't approved it. It's
No, 15 you did, right?
16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15. No, we made the lease payment 15.
Right.
We have one to make in October.
Now, do you guys, are you making a motion in that process of saying we are going to pay the lease payment, or just part of the budget?
It's just part of the vouchers for the month.
Okay, so I wasn't sure, like, kind of, we know with the emergency, you always have to do like this motion to declare it qualifies as an emergency. I wasn't sure if you were going making a motion to say we will lease this building for 1 more year.
The problem is what you're talking about is that's a different story because we don't really have the capability to make those loan payments that the county is obligated to the banks, the local banks. We do have a 10 mil levy, or I don't think it's quite 10 mils anymore because the mills got bigger.
Right.
But we know how much the lease payment is going to be next year, and if we have the capability to levy to pay that lease. And it's not like the welfare building where they didn't have any means of a repayment stream.
Yeah. When I say about that, when we talked about that earlier, again, talking about the morphine process, in theory, they always issue certificate of indebtedness, and in the old days, the county would actually pay them off for everybody. So like if a school would have a certificate of indebtedness, or the city, or even the county. And they say, we're gonna put against property taxes. So if you look at a $50,000 certificate of indebtedness, and you say, we're not gonna pay it back next year, but in theory, what they would do in the old days, they would have a $50,000, they pay back 50, then they immediately take out a 40,000, then they pay back 40, and then take out 30. And so they would, in theory, always have the property tax. They would be pledging property taxes generically. So the whole levy of a county would be, in theory, part of that, this pledge, that certificate, those notes. And what they should have been done is they should have been paid off every year and then reissued as a different loan. But in theory, that's how in the old days, because county auditors would, by law, have to pay the bank within that 1 year period for certificate of indebtedness on property tax. I also saw one.
But the certificates of indebtedness are supposed to be paid back through the cash flow stream of levied but uncollected taxes.
Well, actually, they use future levies as a basis for that certificate of indebtedness. So like right now, they look at the total levies the county would have right now, and they say that can be used to pay off these certificate of indebtedness.
There's no
That's
such
what they
thing.
did.
There's no such thing as a future levy. A levy has to be
Well, this year.
has to be levied on a yearly basis.
Right, no, this year's levy would, in theory, the first dollars of this year's levy you get in 2016 would be going back to certificate of indebtedness. They would take it. That's what they did in the old days. Now, whether it's legal or not, that was the actual process, and then it morphed into, well, you're not going to pay it off, so let's do a 5-year certificate of indebtedness. And that's the official document the banks issue.
But when I read the Century Code,
I know,
it doesn't
you're right.
say anything about
You're absolutely
future
right.
obligation. It
You're
says,
absolutely right.
it says previous year's levy
That was
but
the number.
uncollected taxes.
They morphed into saying this is now legal. That's what they did. Hey, I agree with you. I think it's crazy. And that's why when you look at it, just like when Johnny mentioned the point, all these things you start talking about, you go, this is why this is wrong. And you shouldn't do it. Yeah, but we got to do it.
So they never set up a sinking fund or anything to repay those certificates.
Right. They would say, in theory, they were pledging the next year's tax levy on that. I know. Yeah,
Next year's tax levy is already obligated to something else.
Yeah, well, that's why, in theory, that's why you gotta go back and the next year have a new certificate of indebtedness, because you are not gonna have any money, because it's all taken to pay back the certificate outstanding. So it's a perpetual. You say, I got a 1-year debt. You go, no, you don't, because you just keep renewing it, and that's the whole government finance debacle. And that's when every time they let people do that, you're going, this is not a long-term solution. This is a short-term solution that actually isn't a solution. It's a existing problem. And that's where you're at.
Okay.
But I will proceed. I mean, Jamie, would you mind, just drafting a document saying this is why you are not part of the building authority and how there's no connection at all? Could you draft something like that for me?
I don't think we need a document like that. It's
Well, I mean, would you mind just saying, referencing it then? If you just say, if you read this document, we believe that we're not part of it.
Well, I think all you need to do is put their bylaws or their lease, and we're not part of the building authority.
Why wouldn't we wait for them to challenge that?
You want to do that?
Yeah.
I don't want my name on something. I don't think we need some. We don't need to be tied to that.
I think if Griggs County claimed that we were part of the federal government, I don't think the federal government would write a document saying that we weren't. I'd say we would have to write a document.
Well, it's
saying
pretty
we are.
apparent that we're not part of the building authority. We're suing the building authority.
Right.
We're not going to sue ourselves.
Yeah.
And now see, again, we'll go back, now we're back like in the wrong and the right in the 13 and 14, but those guys said based on all the criteria that you just read, they're saying is we're obligated financially, and that was their criteria they used.
Who's
And
those
it goes
guys?
back to saying is, are you,
The ex-commissioner.
by basically saying, under current accounting standards, we agree that this is part of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't you think it would be in their best interest to obligate themselves when they were the building authority, they were the county? I don't think that's an arm's length
No, I
transaction.
agree, it's not about it, it's totally not, it's totally I don't argue up one bit, but the fact of the matter is, this is part where these Google boys all get together and they all go, hey, if we just call a dog, and every here says, yep, then we're gonna go forward, even though everybody here knows it's a dog.
Okay, how about this then? They had the right to do what they did. We have the right to make the distinction between what they did and what we're gonna do. And there is what we're actually looking at is, I'm not asking anybody to say what's right or what's wrong. I'm saying there is a distinction here, and let's leave the distinction there for everybody to see. I'm not willing to cover up their mess, nor are they willing to say we did wrong and come to our point of view. So let's leave the point of contention where it's at, and let's stand out in the audit. And if they told you to do the audit in 13 the way you did it, that's fine. I don't believe that 14, as you have it presented, is correct, because you are arguing, you're trying to disavow the audit, but still do the audit. This opinion on page 2 needs to go away.
That opinion is horrible. That was the alternative I was given if the building authority considered quoting. No, the legal people right now, and that whole process was amazing. Now,
Who wrote that then?
lawyers did. It's a standard.
Oh, really?
You do not vary. Oh, yeah. I mean,
No, you're assuming that the building authority was a component unit of Griggs County, and there's no basis for that. So yes, you can put this in there if it was a component unit, and you weren't putting the information that it's not a component unit. There's no way. It's not a component unit.
Okay, now, when we
And
get...
there's such thing as good lawyers and bad lawyers.
Oh, I totally do.
And good lawyers and incompetent lawyers, and
When you talk about legalese, you're gonna, there's this thing called a representation letter, and you talk about that being gonna be really thorough, and you're gonna have to sign it, and one of the things that you're saying is, because to totally differentiate where you're at, I'm gonna say the building authority is not a component unit of Griggs County.
it isn't.
And you're gonna sign that letter saying, that isn't.
To do anything else would be a lie.
No,
How can it be a component
Just,
unit?
and
Griggs
again,
County.
we're back to not jump off the cliff but standing up. That's gonna be in there. And I just so you know, I got,
It's a private, non-for-profit corporation that
And I'm gonna-
it couldn't be, if we said it was, we'd be.
just make sure you're comfortable signing the document, because that's gonna be the basis that's gonna say, that's why I can take that opinion up. Because you're gonna say, based on our review, this is not part of Park Griggs County, it is not included, it should not be included in the report. And you have no problem
I'll
signing.
walk around with a sign on my back saying it isn't.
No, and see, and that's the one part about this commission I respect, is that the stuff, you guys take unique approaches, but you stand behind it. And I totally respect you. Hey, most people don't do that, John. You take it for granted. I would love to say people always are stand-up people, but they're not anymore. Right now, people are weasels. Oh, I'll talk tough as long as I can, but after I can stand up for it, no, I'm not gonna do that. And that's why I raised the point I did with you guys saying, when you get those letters from those two entities, if they say, you are wrong, you just need to make sure you say, nope, we're right. And you guys will do that. So you will get a clean opinion on that perspective.
Okay.
And you will sign that letter saying, we have analyzed it, and they are not us.
Thank you.
And then we'll send it to the state, and if the state sends it back, then they'll say, they meet the first and third Fridays of the month.
Yeah.
Anyway, glad to have you in for a couple of minutes
And they
here.
can save some travel time from the last discussion, they can bring Ed with them.
He's a good fortune.
All right, we will do that then.
All right.
And like I said, that's the part where you sign that letter,
Yep.
and we'll proceed.
Can I be here next
And I'm
week?
gonna put in there, I'll just put on that reference, the county has the option to renew this lease for 20 years.
That's what it says.
And that's what you interpret, right?
Not to renew the lease, to levy the funds. The
Okay,
lease
what kind of
agreement,
lease? Okay.
the lease agreement's in place for 20 years. It's the option to levy the funds.
So the county has the option to levy funds for this lease.
On an annual
Because-
So is that what you say?
Well, we don't have any other option. We can't levy funds for 2017. We can only levy on a yearly basis.
I just want to make sure you're going to come back and say, well, that technically say this. So what we're going to say is,
The county has the option to levy funds on an annual basis for the next 29 or 19 years or whatever is left on
the
the
county has the option to levy funds.
annually.
The lease makes it an obligation.
Now, for the lease obligation or for what? Levy funds annually for?
Lease payment.
For the lease payment.
For the lease payment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to make sure, I want to use the right term, not bond, not lease.
Well, I mean, no, it isn't bond, it's a lease payment.
For the lease payment until 2033?
2033?
So as it ends.
Is that what you want to say?
Mhm.
Until 2033?
That's what the indenture in trust says.
That's all I'm thinking, I'm just getting there so we can get all the stuff done.
It's kind of like having a pull or pull with a put or a call. You have the option, but not the obligation to exercise.
right.
Okay.
And if the county wrote the lease agreement, then there would be a legal argument there. But the legal argument wouldn't be, can't force you to levy the money. Because we can only do that on a yearly basis.
But this lease is still in effect as of today, right?
Sure.
Okay, just make sure. Okay. So there's no challenges or whatever make this invalid or there's no lawsuit or anything.
Nope, there's
Well,
There's a lot, there's pending.
lawsuits.
Would that affect the lease or not?
No, we're making the lease payment though.
Yeah, we're making the
No,
lease
but
payment, but it could potentially affect the lease if it's terminated. Correct.
But it's not, he's only doing it on a yearly basis anyway, so this is
Technically,
2014.
contingencies would be.
This was paid in 14 and it's paid now. We're up to, we're current in the lease agreement. So anytime you do an audit, we're all gonna be a year ahead anyway.
Right, but see, subsequent events would be, is like if you go into debt, they say you need to disclose if you just incurred additional debt. They wanna know subsequent events.
We can't incur that without.
No, if you'd had a board, say, if you had a board of the people today to incur debt, then technically subsequent event saying is, after this, they wanna have this disclosure stuff to say, what have you guys done? You'd have to say, subsequently, they either bought a building or incurred a debt or signed some kind of obligations. There's nothing legally right now that, as far as affects this situation yet.
no.
Okay. I don't know.
An audit is an accounting of what was done, not what's gonna happen in the future.
So my favorite definition of auditor is the guy who comes in after the battle is lost and bayonets the wounded. But I mean, again, that's, the fact is, it's what happened, and that's where you're at, so. Anything else?
An auditor doesn't make a very good debater because the facts dispute it.
Well, you're playing hard facts and you get in the world of soft facts, then I tell you what, then you're like,
There is no hard and soft in an audit. It's a number.
I tell you, I've seen people do stuff that just amaze me now. I love the way you guys believe very strongly in what you do. And think that everybody should do it. And I go, you take for granted that everybody says we should do the right thing. You go, well, we should try to do the right thing. It'd be nice to do the right thing. And that's when it becomes soft. Next time we'll definitely do the right thing. But we'll get that document, and again, I'm going to have Smith get to sign it. And then either Troy's the chairman, gets to sign it. So just so you understand, you're going to have that big rec letter, and I encourage you to read it.
Okay.
And it's going to have that in it. It's going to say, this is not a component unit. And then if the state says, we don't like it, then I'll say, first and third party.
Schedule more than one, because it takes time.
And then the same thing as bond, that I would not ever be contacted by the bond people, but I just say, as long as if you're going to be contacted about it, this would set up, they go, we don't see anything regarding it. I'm just saying, as long as you guys are comfortable with it, that's the only point I'm raising.
Samantha has disseminated my cell phone number to all of those people already. So.
All right. That's good. And we will do it that way. And you sign that document, and we'll go forward.
Sooner or later, Harold, you're gonna figure out it's a lot easier to get along with us and argue with the people that might be on the other side of it.
The least damage factor.
Least resistance.
I believe that without a calculation. That is an excellent way. All right, thank you very much.
Hi, Bob.
Hello. Bob next. Doesn't have anything in the packet.
Are we doing bids first or budget?
Whatever you guys want.
What are we doing?
Bids first or budget first? What would you like? He's got furniture bids and budget.
Oh,
So whichever you guys.
I don't care.
Let's get rid of the bids first real quick.
Okay.
Talked to John today, he told me, he asked me whatever you want to get some bids on a tractor for the grounds. I contacted Lead Edge Equipment Carrington, Valley Plains Equipment in Jamestown, and True North Equipment in Northwood. And that's 2 Grand Forks. We looked at John Deere 1025, the subcompact tractor with a broom, belly mower, and roll mower. They all 3 put out bids. The lowest bid came back from Jamestown, was $19,900 for all those components. And there's 2 copies of each here if you guys want to look at. As far as feedback from the dealerships, I'd have to say True North is probably the most dynamic and on the ball with it, but Jamestown came through, he's started.
True North is
Northwood and Grand Forks.
Okay, yeah.
The problem there, they cannot give us the municipal and local government discount because they are not in our area of responsibility. Right now, the only ones are Carrington and Brownstown, basically, or Michigan. So,
Then they're one and the same.
right.
Carrington, Michigan.
Yeah.
That's leading edge.
Yeah.
We're down to just 3 places that will respond here.
And that was the size tractor they recommended, or you recommended?
This is the next thing down. I've got a comparison page or two.
No,
It's in the back there. That was a John Deere X700 series. That would be a high-end lawn tractor with 4-wheel drive. You're looking at less than $1,000 difference. And he said resale on zero compared to this.
This is
Longevity.
this is a little commercial tractor.
Yeah, this is a tractor.
Yeah.
Cast iron block attached to a frame and engine.
What was the difference in the quotes?
Very little.
Oh, we got on the phone.
$900 on one.
And how I got here, I went and talked to Dan Bremer down there. Obviously, they can't sell tractors anymore, but he worked up what we need, and they passed it around to their 3 dealerships. They worked out that. So there you go.
So what was a little bit, 19,000?
900.
19,900.
And where was that at?
Jamestown.
James.
Valley Plains Equipment, they call it now.
19,000.
900.
Thank you.
Just for everybody's, in some rough figures when we went through it to maximize the grant, we're gonna have to spend about $42,000 to $45,000 over and above what we're. There's been some things that have been disallowed because we couldn't get bids on them. The project was, what happened was there wasn't enough room in the original bid. We'd already maximized it, and also this was added on. There's nobody to get a change order to add on to something that the other contractor didn't do. So there is some money left over that is has to go into the project. So it amounts to what, about $20,000 about that they're disallowed, probably.
I don't have with me something along those lines, or maybe
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And that was to be expected is when you can't go rebid the thing when it's nothing left to bid on it. So.
Well, I've been thinking about that. If those amounts came in underneath the bids,
They didn't, though. There wasn't much left. Like in the mechanical bid, there was only $1,500 left from the original one, and yeah, that difference could be made up. But so they were all already about maxed out, and same with the flooring. But that was a combination one. So there wasn't much room there.
I don't know if it matters, but Northwood and Jamestown both quoted a Frontier snowblower,
Mm-hmm.
and the one in Carrington is a John Deere.
Yeah.
I mean, that Frontier stuff isn't as nice, but
So that gives more value to Jamestown than
Carrington.
Carrington.
Jamestown has the Frontier,
Oh.
Carrington had the John Deere.
Jamestown and Northwood both had Frontier snowblowers, and this one from Carrington is a John Deere. There isn't that much difference. It wouldn't make up the difference in the quote, but
How much would you have to pay to switch to the Carrington, right? What was the difference between Jamestown and Carrington?
let's see.
Is that with the government discount?
Yes.
That is.
The one from Northwood, or True North, that does not include the government discount, but they're right in the
Just
ballpark.
about
They just can't- can't do it.
$950 difference.
I don't know if a John Deere is worth spending $950 more to get a John Deere over a Frontier.
that's only $500 for them. For a snowball.
Mark Kennard from Carrington, he said just for a small increase in fees, he can get a front mount snowblower. That's the rear mount.
Oh,
And said that there's a very small difference because we don't have a hydraulic kit to the broom that makes it feasible.
the broom's going in the front?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have both, could you have the snowblower in the back and the
Yes,
in the front?
they both.
That would probably be better. Yeah.
That's why
That's why you have
that's
to-
what Bremer came out with. He said then you have to put a weight kit on it. It's all
Yeah, that's fine.
improvement for your
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't need a bullet.
Right, but room, yeah. What do we have, what's the furniture bid?
Okay, that's, you want to go on that next? I'm ready for that, you are.
I was just gonna ask you, that we're real confident, fairly confident that Debbie will give us 75% of this based on the grant, the EOC grant and everything.
So my initial contacts, and John, I talked about that, and he said I didn't need to do that. I could get it from her right, if not, we can.
We got a little time, maybe, well, let's look at the furniture one, maybe we should submit it for pre-approval. If we decide to do that.
That might be a good idea.
We have enough.
We got enough time, we got it.
I called Mike Pella. He came up yesterday, met with me. We just went through all the offices as initially planned, and it broke down the total for everything. The furnishings for the whole EOC was $20,975. The tractor was $19,900, and then there was like $1,125 for janitorial, and that ate up to $42,000. So there's a break of that.
Were they gonna set up the furniture then?
Yeah, that's literally everything. That's
Good deal.
brought to the spot and top polished. And the quality of furniture is middle road. It's not high end. It's not custom.
And that got furniture for Jamie's office.
That's for every-
All you'll see.
Whole you'll see everything that was initially going to be put in there. There's nothing fancy. It's all just utilitarian furnishings. The only custom would be the tables for the commission in the multi-purpose room. And price wise, it's the same as if we bought some junk and put it in there. And it's movable. We can take apart these for training tables or conference tables also. There's a picture of that. He said that delivery would be 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks max.
I'd like to see it put in for pre-approval, and I mean, if they're gonna approve it, it's gonna be
Quotes from 200.
Mike helped with and he said they'll never touch the prices. Volume wise, they'll keep up with it.
And 19,900, 2975, and 1125.
I had it down. I think it's on there on that sheet that I built down there. I believe.
Yeah, 1125.
And added up to, what was it?
4875.
40,875.
Oh, sorry, 42 with the maintenance.
Okay. Because I think we figured actually it should have been 42,600 or something technically, but.
The 600, I mean, I'm sure Brian and Debbie can use that stuff up
Yeah.
or something.
Well, I mean, it doesn't, there's gonna be, as we get that payment back, there's gonna be a balance left in that account that's gonna go back into the facility anyway. I mean, we're not gonna put it in the county funds, it's
No.
gonna go to the courtroom or somewhere, so it's going back into the facility anyway, so. And now that will maximize, we're hoping to maximize the grant then at $9,000 or $988,000.
Yeah. Yeah, we would need to turn in like 42,600 to get the 98,500, but.
That we'll beat that with Brian, Debbie.
Yeah, okay. Okay, they haven't gotten to you.
I talked to Brian last night, briefly on the phone there, or something like we're trying to meet next week early.
So would it be okay to have Bob treatment into Debbie for pre-approval and then?
So,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I'll get an official.
So if she responds positively, then do you want Bob to go ahead and pull the trigger so we get this thing done before?
That's what I
Or the
would, that would be my vote.
Okay,
I'm gonna meet with Dan Brimmer on Tuesday morning. He's gonna go through that bid and we're gonna go through it piece by piece, make sure there's nothing missing that's gonna screw us with the tractor. And so, I mean, it'll be that or less.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could make a motion that Bob be allowed to go ahead contingent on Debbie giving her pre-approval in writing.
okay.
I'll second that.
So, motion by Ron, seconded by John to have Bob move ahead with the furniture and tractor proposal contingent on Debbie Lacomb's pre-approval. Is there any discussion?
So all we have to have is a signed sales agreement before the first of the, by
Correct.
the end, and then we have 15 more days to get dealt with.
And they both said they could have that within minutes.
Right.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. Budget.
Do you have a copy of the budget?
Not other than what I've seen.
Do you want to see what?
That's probably good.
I can just let you use mine.
You know,
I guess I should say I don't have any copy of any changes.
We didn't make any changes.
we haven't made any
I
changes.
didn't think so. I have what I submitted.
Do you have any changes penciled in since the city
No,
opted not to take action on that contract?
I mean, going through my budget, the only thing, obviously, we're all intelligent people at this table. The only place I'm gonna cut those kind of numbers that you're thinking or proposing or that need to be made are due through salaries. I trimmed roughly 12,000 out of it before I submitted it. The rest of my line items are, pretty minuscule compared to most things. So that's,
Right. So we're gonna be the way it looks, there's gonna be a $65,000 reduction in revenue from the city to pay towards law enforcement within the city of Cooperstown.
okay.
Now,
When I think I talked to John and Ron, they said they used the number of 40,000 when they planned their budgeting, that's what's total.
No,
the shortfall is gonna be 65,000.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
What we were, I think what they were trying to do is thinking that it wouldn't be prudent or possible probably to have a half a deputy. I think they resigned themselves to the fact that the county was not gonna be able to lower the departmental budget by 65,000.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's what we're talking about today, is what is the right number. That's why I asked you what your thoughts were at this point.
Well, in discussing with some of the commissioners, it'd be very difficult for me to reduce my number of certified law enforcement officers. I mean, below 2, I think below 3 is not really that feasible to do what I need to do. So that leaves one area we can cut.
Right. I mean, I think we all got to that spot eventually.
I had some brief conversations with Jamie about maybe sharing some duties with his clerical or office staff. And,
Phone coverage and
right. So there's a live person at the window. Citizens have gotten really used to that. Cooperstown is going to reduce some of my small stuff, but the workload that Mickey's doing is not going to change too drastically because of that. I still need the same monthly reports, I still need the same fingerprint numbers, we still have 24/7, we still have this, we still have that, those things. You know, that, the part about the budgeting or the monthly bills, and that was a minuscule part of the position.
Right, but I mean, from the citizen standpoint, and the way their money is spent, we were giving the city 40 hours a week, and we were budgeting for that. Now we no longer have those 40 hours of obligation within your department, so those 40 hours by one of the deputies or yourself can be put towards big duties that Mickey was doing previously. I mean, theoretically, you know, so. And we're not going to get, the office deputies $26,000. We're not going to get anywhere near that $65,000.
Right.
There is one other option that came to mind, and it's probably not it's not going to be preferable to Bob, and it's not going to be preferable to Wayne. But what would happen, just for conversation's sake, if we took the DES salary and the 911 salary, which amount to about $14,000, and made that a duty, reduce one of the deputies' salaries by that $14,000, made the deputy part-time deputy and full-time DES and 911. It would still keep the 3 deputies in place, or the 2 deputies and the sheriff in place. The office deputy would go away, of course, and we would incur another $14,000 of savings. So now we had to have 26. Now it would be up to $50,000 worth of savings. It would still cost us $25,000 more by Cooperstown backing out. The problem is it would take a salary away from Bob and take his salary away from.
I'll tell you right now, the way things are looking here. I'll tell you, me personally, I felt for the last 4 or 5 years that someone else needs to be doing the DES work at some point. It just, that whole area of work has changed so drastically since I was put into that position. And so my intentions are to rid myself of that position and get someone in there who can give more time to it. It needs more detailed day-to-day time than it used to. That's the way it is. Can I use I need 2 full-time deputies, law enforcement officers. So that, I know I need that. And so you're thinking that person would be a full-time DS director and part-time. You lost it a little bit.
Yeah, it would be. Let's just use deputy number, the chief deputy. Let's just either one of them.
Okay.
$37,000 for deputy number 1. We'd reduce that salary by the $14,000 and pay the $14,000 for duties as DES and 911. You'd still have, in emergency situations, you could still pull that person in to do what needs to be done. As far as you still have 2 deputies plus yourself, it would satisfy the one that's hard. The one that's hard to people aren't going to understand is when Cooperstown's not paying the $65,000, and we were charging him $65,000 for 40 hours. How do we now say that we're going to we give additional 40 hours to the county? What was the purpose of having that deputy working in Griggs County for Cooperstown? And now when he does have to go to Cooperstown, now they're still full time. We have to somehow justify that.
Well, we give Cooperstown. Realistically, we give Cooperstown more than 40 hours a week. They got more than 40 hours.
I understand that.
Most times we probably have 40 hours burned up by Wednesday. But
Well, you're gonna spend some time in there now.
I know that.
But the reason what I'm looking at here is how do I divide that person's time up? Right now, 3 people make my schedule flow to the absolute minimum.
But the argument last year for the second deputy was that you needed to cover Cooperstown for 40 hours every week. And now we don't have to cover Cooperstown for 40 hours every week. So has the workload then in the rest of the county increased by 40 hours a week? There has to be some reduction, otherwise the argument last year wasn't valid.
I do not recall ever arguing for 40 hours a week because I've never put an hour number on City of Cooperstown. I mean, I haven't ever done that because I know it's more than 40. There was 40 hours talked about. I know Troy mentioned the 40 hours once during those conversations.
Well, that was the justification for keeping an extra deputy.
Great. But my problem is,
But for their contract, they required or wanted 40 hours.
right, a minimum.
Yeah.
Right. The problem I have 365 7 days a week. You know, how do I put somebody into those positions when I don't have? I mean, right now 3 people have just enough to cover that. Otherwise, we get into too much overtime.
I know, but they can spend some of that time in the office.
I'm not saying that. That's not my issue. My issue is I need someone to be able to be covered 24/7, 24 hours a day. Our schedule doesn't work 8 hours a day. We're not a 40-hour week department. We're a 24 hours a day department. We don't work every minute, but I have to have somebody available to go every minute. So at some point, the overtime is going to come into play here.
Well, it won't because you're gonna have to stick to the budget no matter what it is. Someone's gonna have to stick to the budget, and unfortunately, the only person that isn't subject to overtime is you.
I get that.
Yeah.
You're not telling me nothing.
No, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just
I know
stating the
that.
facts, and there has to be some kind of. I don't think anybody here is asking for the full $65,000 reduction. I don't think. I think I understand that can't happen, but something has to be done.
So sitting here today, what dollar amount are we talking about? I need to.
I don't know. That's. I don't know. Again,
I understand what your philosophy is, and I get that. We may be making a difference in the financial side of it, but my public safety responsibility isn't being met by that. It's not. It's not.
Well, then the.
Because we've already talked.
But then there was no need. So there was absolutely zero need then for the Cooperstown deputy.
I've never had a Cooperstown deputy. I've had 3 deputy sheriffs. I've never had when as long as I've been here, except for that first year or 2, we've had 3 people in office, and Cooperstown had their own.
But they were covering at least 40 hours a week. One of them was covering at least 40 hours a week for the.
Not initially. Not initially. When it was.
No, I know, but last year it was.
Well, we all covered it. There was no one that was. The city's Cooperstone's getting 40 hours plus, guaranteed, and that workload was spread across 3 of us.
Right.
Sometimes 4 of us.
Right.
And yes, we keep a body employee, but if they're going to be putting in 6 or 7 hours as a DES director and a 911 coordinator, those kind of things, they're not going to have hours to put in as a deputy sheriff. So I'm not going to be able to schedule into my schedule rate. I'm going to be scheduled in by hours, not shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what that's going to do is reduce their services. There's no way around that. And I can't have people out patrolling the countryside if there's no one to patrol the countryside.
But they're still available. They're still available on call. Yeah.
Yep. This comes down to what do the citizens want? Do they want me down to 2.5 people to cover the colony? I don't know. Some do. I'm sure some do. The uninformed do. Some uninformed don't. I don't know what the answer is. But I know to reduce my staff to about 3 law enforcement officers that can dedicate those hours to law enforcement is going to be difficult.
I don't know if it would be reducing your staff. I think it would just be putting additional duties on the sheriff's department. Just as you shared the additional duties of Joe Cooperstown. Now those additional duties would be replaced with the DES and 911 job, and they could be spread out amongst all 3 people in the office or not in the office. But the salary would go towards paying one of the deputies or partial one of the deputies. I mean, it's just a suggestion. I mean, you would basically be replacing your obligation to Cooperstown with the obligation to the DES and the 911. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't know what the job entails. It was just a suggestion.
One of the other issues with that, you have to have a person that wants that position. The DES position is not asimilar to a deputy sheriff. There really is not very little in parallel there at all.
Mm-hmm.
And And most places, I think I may myself maybe one more. There may be one more law enforcement officer still involved in DES. We've all gone away from that. It used to be a closer connection than it is now.
Mhm.
I personally, as sheriff, I really don't want one of my deputies being the DES director because I don't. It doesn't fit anymore. It used to fit,
Mhm.
and then I would just soon be done with it myself. And that's I told you what my plans are with that. I thought we'd get to this EOC thing and we'd do that and clear things up and
Like that, just a suggestion.
someone else can take that over.
Do we need one?
DES director.
Right.
We need a DS department.
Yeah, you guys talked before about Ron and I had a conversation about that. Let another county do it if you want to.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, but the century code does say that every county has to have a DES department.
yeah. You know, and how that's manned and funded. That's
Yeah, I don't think
you guys have a lot of leeway on how you want to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't specifically say how, that you have to have a manager.
You know, if you could contract it out as piecemeal by workload to someone else, that's possible. I don't know. The state's open there to display everything, but
Well, what are the mandatory requirements of the DES department? I guess I'm never looking.
the mandatory requirement.
Yeah. I mean, that'll dictate what the workload is. I mean, in the past, the DES and the 911 have been in place because it was a revenue source. For every dollar we spent, we got 50 cents back. I mean, it's fairly easy to see that the actual salary and the expenses of the DES aren't related to the DES. They're spread out over the rest of the county. I mean, the DES paid for things that weren't directly related to the DES.
Like what?
Work done on cars, a loan payment on the car, lots of things like that.
Loan payment on a car.
Yeah.
Something with that.
Last year, $1,000. There's been checks written to VW Motors, and there's a bunch of other things that were, you know, and not finding fault with that. It's a revenue source rather than actually emergency services. Again, it was just a suggestion. There's got to be some resolution to this. In my thinking, we just can't absorb the whole $65,000. I don't think that would be fair to anybody.
Anybody else have any ideas?
I think if the combination can work, it'd be a great situation. Combining.
That would get us to 14 and 26. That would get us to $50,000. No, $40,000. That would get us to $40,000 savings. It would still be $25,000 over short.
I guess if the deputy is assigned to be the DS person, if it's only at 40 hours a week all year that you have to work on it, and the 911 coordinator, if that's only 40 hours a week you have to work on it, it seems like you could absorb it, but we don't know exactly what the job description is for those. If it's a 40-hour a year task or a 60.
See, that's the problem with DS. It's growing beyond what it initially was when Paul and I were involved in it.
But they would have to. What's the minimum you have to do?
Okay, the thing with the DES is you can do the minimum. Yeah, that's doable. But what's the point? Okay. What else is available? It's to go beyond that. Get our community ready for any kind of situation that comes up. Preparedness, pre-planning preparedness. That's what the DS officer does. That's what we're in the process of doing with what we're starting here. And so, if you want to pursue that as a county commission, and if you want us to go on that road and have the county in the best possible position to respond and rebuild and something, then that person takes that to the next level. If you want to do the absolute bare minimum, just skate by, that's doable too.
Yeah, because sure, if you do that anyway.
No, I don't.
Prepare it?
No, I don't.
You don't do any planning?
I am not responsible for the county recovery in a disaster. That's not my position.
I thought you all.
I would be there.
You've been doing preparedness planning.
Right, as a DS director.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I would help with that, but that doesn't fall in the sheriff's position. But no, would I turn my back and walk away from something? Absolutely not, never would.
Yeah, I'm sure probably all the sheriffs in all the counties Just kind
Some do and some don't.
Okay.
There's many that don't, many there, a lot of places have full-time BS director and
Yeah.
they're light years ahead of where we're at. What their capabilities are.
Yeah. It would just be hard to be a sheriff and not do any planning.
Well, right. We're talking specific planning.
Yeah.
Local emergency operation planning, that doesn't fall on the sheriff's back. Actually, it falls on the county commission. To the county. To start. But you know, obviously look at my budget, you know where I can get the money from out here, and it's limited to one place really. Too far eliminating a position or coming to $20-some thousand, it's gonna be my office day. That's where it's at. I guess my concern with the DS director and 911 coordinator, so we're gonna add those duties in my office, then plus all the clerical now, where I've got probably 40 hours a week, 8 up in clerical and other things. There's just a lot. There's a lot of paper come through my office in a day and a week.
So would it work just to eliminate the office deputy and go from there?
Well, from a business number standpoint, I guess that'd be the only logical place I could take money from. You know, from a pure financial standpoint, you know, those things are pretty black and white. But from services to the community and those kind of things, it's not so black and white from where I sit.
Well, it's just pretty hard to make the argument that we don't have the responsibility of the 40 hours a week at a minimum in Cooperstown that it requires the same staff to do the job. It just, I mean, that's a hard one to make that. I don't know, I can't make that, I can't see past that. I mean, I can see past where, yes, there was combination duties, but by not having to fulfill the Cooperstown contract, that had to free up some time.
It's not going to free up time, John. All it's going to free up is maybe some responses during the shift or something in Cooperstown. It's not going to free up responsibility of myself and my staff to the county. That's not how I have basically people or shifts to be worked from 6 in the morning till midnight at least. And with 3 people, we just get that done now.
I know, but a lot of time is spent, I mean, there's time spent in the office where we can be doing the clerical duties. And I'm not talking about cutting one of the law enforcement officers, talking about cutting the office deputy where, you know.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement to cut the office deputy. And maybe we're not in agreement on anything beyond that.
I mean, looking at if we're here for strictly budgeting numbers, I mean, if you're asking me if I have to cut money, that's the only place I can. That's it. I mean, we know that you got all the rest, but you're talking line items of $400, $700, $800. There's no point in looking at that.
Yeah, the big one is overtime at 20,000, but I don't know if that is overtime, right?
Yeah, and that includes that we left it there because of that grant money.
Yeah.
We sold. Now, whether we spend 20,000, I can tell you right now, we're not going to spend 20,000. I don't know what that number is going to be, but it won't be nearly 20,000.
Well, maybe it could be cut then.
Well, then if I cut it and we have grant money, then we can't spend. We've been through that before. I'm not going there again.
Okay, you're right. So, I guess I could live with just cutting the office deputy. I don't know about anyone else.
I'm assuming you guys are all human. You understand what this means. It's not a good deal. Okay? It's not. I understand that, and I'm sure that's why it's hard to talk about this at times. But from a money standpoint, that's the black and white of it for me. I have nowhere else to give you a dime.
No, and we all understand the human aspect on both sides of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you realize that the money to pay for that employee comes from humans also.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah. So yes, no doubt, it is not a desirable circumstance to be in, but that's why I think there needs to be some give and take. We're not asking for the full 65,000. We're trying to make something that is at least palatable, and I don't know what that is.
So we're at this point today, is this something we need to, you guys gotta stay over till next week or something, or what's your?
I think you just gotta make a decision and present it and
Well, I think this decision's been made by the board. I mean, if you need to get money from me, that's not the question I give it. That decision's been made, not by me. It's been made by the board, and that's that.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, you could present it as it is, and whether we approve it or not we don't know that when no one's voted, so.
What do you present?
I mean, you could present the budget as it is right now, and whether or not that gets approved, I don't know.
Well, I'm assuming, I'm fairly telling you, John, that's not gonna happen.
So I don't know. I mean, do you want to step up and and shoulder some of the responsibility for making the cuts, or do you want us to do it? That's what it amounts to.
Well, I don't, is there an alternative? No,
Probably not.
there's not. So I guess that has been a group decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's three alternatives. There's to do nothing, there's to cut a deputy to achieve the full 65,000, or there's to a compromise in the middle.
Right.
And the compromise, there's two compromises in the middle. It's the office deputy and nothing else, or it's the office deputy and ruling the 911 and the DES in the department. So, I mean, there's four options, I would say.
Let me ask the devil's question. Is the county in a position they cannot fund this? They're in a position they cannot fund this? From a business standpoint, is the county in such dire straits they cannot fund my office deputy? Does that mean, are we as a public crying out so loud to get rid of $26,000 more dollars?
I would say the reverse of that is, does the public demand that we spend their money wisely? And if there's a reduction in duties and a reduction in revenue, as brought about by the city, and we don't respond, then we're either spending more of their money, or we were spending their money unwisely previously. So there has to be a response. That's the only, that is a municipality or is a government entity ever broke? Of course not. They have the ability to levy taxes. But
Right.
as you levy taxes, what is the outcome of that?
And here I have to say that the discussioner is you use the word very clearly, is it wisely spent? I don't think my office has demonstrated any frivolous spending, any lack of work, any lack of duties. We've everything we're asked to do.
But Bob, you have less duties this year than you had last year.
Maybe.
Well,
I cannot predict what's going to happen in 2016. I cannot do that. And I know what you're saying. Now, if you want to look at it strictly as
I mean, let me back up. We're always splitting hairs with you. You have less obligations this coming year than you had last year.
Yes,
Okay.
upfront obligations, I'll
Yeah.
give you that. But there's no way predicting what's going to happen in my line of work.
I understand that.
You know, it's not. I'm not a sterile environment like the courthouse. It's not. So, where are we going here? What do you want to do with
I don't
this?
know. Bob?
You know, I think we should cut the office deputy and approve the remainder of the budget. I know that isn't popular amongst everybody, but that's what I'd be willing to make that motion if we're making motions to cut the office deputy and approve the remainder of the sheriff's budget.
Been moved by Ron to eliminate the office deputy position in the sheriff's budget, which I don't know that we really have the ability to make that decision. That's really his decision. We can say we're going to cut that budget by $26,165.38. You make the decision on your personnel within your budget, I think.
Well, here on the record, I'm gonna tell you right now, if it's a matter of public safety, so if I need to cut $26,000 and some cents on my budget, it's only gonna come from one place, that's the office deputy, period.
Yeah, well, we do have the ability, being this is a line item budget, to eliminate the line item.
I suppose.
Yeah.
And if from the old, we're here about business, this is about county business money, and I've got that from day one. So if that's what it is, then we'll eliminate my office deputy.
I think business is not really the correct way to, I think it's about accountability to
Okay.
taxpayers.
Well,
It's
yeah.
really what it amounts
Right.
to.
It's a change in the amount of duties that the sheriff's department's going to have in 2016 as compared to 2015, and we need to respond adequately to that change.
I've been asked by some of the citizens lately, now, is the city gonna drop my tax amounts by $67,000? You're gonna have to go talk.
That would be a question for the city council.
We don't have to finish
For every
we don't have to
commission
field-
meeting and.
we don't have to field that one. But I mean, you could look at it just the opposite of this, that being we're only gonna cut 26,000 from the budget, that the citizens are getting more law enforcement than they had last year.
The citizens of
Citizens of Griggs County.
Yeah.
Excuse
The
me.
county and especially the citizens of Cooperstown, they've had more law enforcement since the county took over than they ever had before,
Yeah.
for half the price. You know,
So the citizens of Griggs County as a whole are getting more law enforcement because now there's nothing dedicated to Cooperstown.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it both ways. And,
Or Bedford, or
or
Haverford.
Bedford, yeah. I'll second that motion.
Motion seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Yes, did you do it as a dollar amount then, or is that?
No, line item. It's a line item budget, John's
Yeah,
right.
It's
I
just,
was
it's listed by itself.
To delete the office deputy.
correct. Is there any further discussion?
Is there any other expenses associated with that, or that's about it?
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no expenses with the office deputy that, you know.
Obviously no fuel or anything
No.
like that's related to
Nothing.
it, so.
She might spend $40 a year on a couple shirts, that'd be absolutely it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carried. Okay.
That's all
No,
I- Is that it?
I think so.
anything else for Bob?
Okay. Who's gonna be my main contact on this tractor and furniture thing? It'll be pre-meeting, I wanna run it by somebody,
It's already been approved.
okay?
If
As long
if
as
Debbie
Debbie
look,
approved it.
as long as Debbie says it's a go.
Who's just contingent on her approval?
Yeah, go ahead and hold it.
I mean, if you get a response from her, an email or something, you shoot it out to Ron or.
Okay, for Sam.
Or Sam, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No issue, yeah, that's fine.
So you have to make this change and let your,
Sam can change.
okay,
Excuse me?
You would make this change and take out the 26,000.
Okay.
And then the rest of the report will calculate automatically and
okay,
it'll be done and updated.
okay. Because it's gonna increase the mill levy for the sheriff's department. The revenue's gonna go away and the expenses are not gonna go away completely.
Well, but it's tied in, you know, it won't show exactly. Yeah,
Overall, it will be.
overall, yeah.
Okay,
I guess I do have a question, what did you do with my deputies' increases? Did they, for their salaries?
1.7.
I think we did 1.7 for all county employees.
We tried, first
Except
of all,
for-
we tried to equalize
The deputies.
deputies.
The deputy, her
Yes,
deputy.
yep.
Then we tried to equalize the departments, and then we applied 1.7% across the board to all county employees, and that was based on the cost of living increase. And hopefully that becomes a standard, so we can look at that every year and here's the increase. So there's some uniformity, and I understand that they probably were equal starting out, but how do you start equalizing them? Against what standard, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
So from going forward now, there is a way of making it uniform. I mean, if one person gets a raise of 2%, everybody does, and you know, that's really the only way to you do it uniformly.
All right. Well, I gotta run, so thanks.
Okay.
Motion to take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Not right. Move and second to take a 5-minute break. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Lightweight. What? Call the meeting back to order. Travis.
Did that UPS get added to the agenda, or we can discuss that first, I guess, or
Yep.
as the other commissioners heard information about that, I guess, or?
They wrote the packets, they did.
Oh, okay. The old UPS, it's a battery backup system that we have for the old server equipment in this courthouse, no longer used. I have an application for it, I can resell it. I'm offering, I guess, proposing to buy it back from you guys for that since it's not needed for you guys' use anymore. So I offered $100 for the unit. The batteries in it need to be replaced. I think it was a little over $350 for that cost on it, and then we paid about $650 in 2011 if I recall correctly for the unit. So
How about 200?
125.
175?
Is there a,
You gotta put it on.
Gotta put it on bids, I suppose.
I suppose it's worth,
Any county property.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure how that works. I guess. So.
bid, advertising bid.
It has to be advertised, yeah.
Which stinks because it was.
The advertisement will cost more than
Yeah, you could probably buy it for $5. That's what's the big deal on it.
a new one is about $1,150 that is comparable to this thing. It is a rack mounted unit. It's not one of those little guys that sits on the floor by your TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it's built to go in a rack. Not everybody could use it. But if somebody had a need for it, they might try to buy it. And the battery, I looked up the replacement batteries for this thing were about $360. So
I mean,
I got the same thing he did.
If we put it out for bids, I mean, he can bid on it, but I don't think because of his position, I don't think we'd sell it to him without.
I think that would look like insider trading.
I understand that. I guess I don't know how like most of the stuff we have for IT work is just recycled. You know, it goes into the recycling company, so there's no resale, I guess.
I might bid on it. I could use one in the back.
Well, I'll sell you the battery pack.
I buy those from Schneider Electric all the time. I mean, I don't have any rack mounted ones. All mine are the standalone ones, and now we put everything in the rack, and I got all them UPSs sitting around in the bottom shelf, you know. So
you really could use one.
I don't know. I've never had one go bad.
The batteries go bad. Is what
The batteries,
yeah.
I mean-
the unit themselves really, unless you overload them or you have some kind of surge on them, you know, it's basically just a big copper coil inside. They're
And
built
this-
fairly well. APC makes a really good product, so
That's about the only thing I'd buy.
yeah.
And Granger sells them. Schneider Electric seems like they're the easiest place to get replacement parts and stuff. But this is a 2200 VA, which it's a pretty good size one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Compared to any for a lot of the server racks, you see some more on 1500s and up kind of thing. So this is a pretty good size. It's a 30 amp, 120 volt. So there's not a lot of services have wired for that as well. Most of them are 20 amp at most.
right.
So there's a special plug, twist plug for it. So I guess you have to look at the legality of it, how that process goes.
Well, that's the only thing I was worried about
Yeah.
when I read that.
And yeah, this just came up recently. It's not a big hurry, so it's a possibility. So I wanted to propose it. Just wait out. You know,
How come we don't
but,
use it anymore?
the UPS that we have at the new courthouse are 208 volt, not 120 volt. So they're bigger capacity and different voltage rating then. So we went from 1 to 2 unit system on that rack.
280?
208 volt. It's 3-phase.
208?
208, yes.
I knew it was 122.8, but we got the generator tested yesterday and got it all
Everything's good then? Okay.
Now, are there UPSs on the individual
Desktops?
workstations?
Yes. Any computer system we build out with a UPS on it. It just, the UPS's desktops are about $110 a piece. If the system goes down, breaks a hard drive, it's going to cost you a lot more labor and downtime for that. So they're a good investment for the systems. And then what happens is they're hooked up via USB cable. So if the computer's running, it'll tell it to shut off, saying that there's no more battery power, so it doesn't properly shut down, and not a hard one where you run the risk of damaging equipment or losing data.
Well, that's belt and suspenders, holy smokes.
What? I missed that.
You don't know what that means?
No.
That's,
Redundancy.
That's covering your tail more than one way.
Gotcha.
You have a belt on and you wear suspenders.
Duly redundant.
It's clicking.
So, and the reason that I asked you that, Travis, is because when we set up those transfer switches yesterday, I set them, we programmed the transfer switch to exercise the generator every other Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And when it does that, it's going to transfer the load from the courthouse over. Now, that switch is so fast, I don't know if a computer would see it or not, but if you have UPSs on all the workstations, then it's not going to be an issue.
No, not at all. And then the thing is, that covers actual outage, where the generator wouldn't be able to start up in time or be down then, so.
10 seconds.
And that it wouldn't be able to start. We're talking milliseconds.
No, I know.
Downtime, but I mean, yeah, that's a pretty nice startup. So, but
I couldn't believe it.
so that's 10 seconds from off to power out and full load capacity on that. That's really good. You start talking to the flywheel generators when you start talking getting up higher if you want.
I can't. Well, you'd have to have a battery pack to
For the
carry
whole
it.
system.
To
Yeah.
carry
Well,
it.
they're called flywheel generators. They're big flywheel. So when power goes out, its flywheel's still spinning. So what happens is the generator takes over, starts turning the flywheel.
Oh,
so
I see.
it's I don't remember the technical
So
term.
they
It's
take,
momentum
you're turning the generator
all the time.
with commercial power, and
Yep.
the generator gets it
It
turned.
takes over when it needs to and it's on. And you see those in big, large environments, data centers. So
Like the FAA station out here by Finley has batteries, but that thing's 20 years old, so I
Yeah.
suppose they didn't have those. But I mean, if you're going to turn a flywheel forever, that takes money too.
it's as long as your bearings are good. I mean, there's a cost evaluation on that, but it's not for small organizations. You're talking large loads. So.
And it don't matter if the courthouse goes black for the 2 hours. Let alone-
No, not at all. See, the main thing with UPS's idea is that it'll take those flash loads like on and offs,
Oh, I understand.
and then if it actually is down for a while, it'll send a proper signal out to shut everything off, so we're not just hitting power off then.
So, you guys, if we don't need this, if this is excess equipment, do you want Sam to advertise it? What are your wishes?
Well, there's no sense in keeping it around. There's no use for it other, not to go back.
It would sit-
Not gonna
it would
go
sit-
backwards.
Yeah, it would just sit there. We eventually toss it out. So.
Should you check with Wayne and see if he's
I
got
was just
stuff?
gonna say that. Isn't there some stuff down at the shop that Wayne needs to
I thought there was too, yeah.
bid out so that we can just
Oh,
want to
I'll
add
put
for all
everything
of
together.
it?
Put it
Yeah.
on one big auction notice that we
Yeah.
got the the stuff we got, including this battery.
Yep, that's a good idea. Motion?
Yes, I'll move that Samantha advertise, or contact Wayne Hoying and work on getting an advertisement put together for the excess property of the road department and also the IT department.
Second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any more, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Budget, was that the next thing on your
Yeah, I guess
agenda?
one more just on that item as far as when it's listed, to make sure to state that the batteries are non-functional, I guess maybe, because they barely work, they're pretty well used up. So
Just put needs batteries.
So in my advertisement, I have to list all the items and then,
And I can help you with that, I get the model number and.
It's just going to
specification.
Wayne anyway, isn't it?
Hmm?
It's just gonna go in with Wayne stuff anyway, but yeah.
yeah. But I list all of Wayne's
But
equipment too.
when you
and-
list that UPS, just put in parentheses behind it, needs batteries.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you do have to list everything that Wayne plans to auction off item by item.
And minimum bid 150.
Canadian?
We were almost there.
Yeah, we're getting close.
We're heading in the same direction. We'll pay for the ad.
Okay. Budget.
Yeah, and you should stick around for this probably, but on the budget, I wasn't proposing any change or anything. Is this where you want to talk about NRG?
No?
Oh, sorry.
There was
I'm
that
sorry.
IT budget too.
IT budget's on page 10.
Okay.
I remember we had some conversation some time ago, Travis, about our computer rotation and how that should be done, and did we go through that again after the fact?
Not with me. What we were proposing is actually sitting down and getting that actually ironed out as far as what we want to do forward with that. I was never involved with that before as far as actually the planning as far as when the systems go out. I think I should be. I think we should work as together as far as.
You were never involved in that?
No, Cindy Angelo, when she was working, she would tell me that these two computers would be replaced, and then I would go put an order in for them and do the work for replacing it then. So, or this one computer.
Well, who decided?
But there was a rotation.
There was a
correct?
rotation involved.
Yeah, but-
I guess I'm not certain what criteria she used. I think it was just probably a
2 year, 3 year.
I think she was just using a 4-year rotation, to my understanding. So,
Why would we do that?
4-year rotation is a pretty standard rotation for desktop computer models.
Not my world.
Mine,
Especially not with the workstations.
I rotate them when they won't come on anymore.
That's when I rotate them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and in today's environment where you can call up and have one here tomorrow, I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, we usually have one in the back room, and if one dies, we just go put another one
And
on.
that's what we need to discuss, how we want to move forward with that as far as, do we have standby units or do you have,
Well, they must be mostly all fresh by now. Right?
I was talking to Samantha about this too. I want to take over the inventory of all IT compartments. Right now, the inventory is handled by each department head, which included their computer infrastructure. My idea is that I will actually take over when a new computer comes in. I put it on my inventory sheet and submit it to you guys yearly for that. Then, so that way we can actually look at,
Because, I'm just looking at, like, there's $5,000 in here for computers. So that's what, 5 workstations?
That was including labor to replace them to that line budget then. So if we actually did a computer for $1,000, $900, and the labor to replace it would come out of that $5,000 line item. So, and depending on how we move forward as far as how we want to rotate stuff, one of my thoughts too is I think $5,000 is good, around $5,000 as far as the actual budget line for that. And say 1 year we use $2,000 of it, we just replenish it back to $5,000. And if it needs to be used, it's used. If it's not, it just carries over then.
Right. I mean, that's how my world works. I mean, we have workstations at the bank that are 8 years old like that.
How many stations do we have? 20?
No, there's
More
quite a
than
few
that.
more than that. So, and that's where that's why I want to get an updated sheet where it's not just each department head, but I can come and tell you exactly what's going on in the years and all that stuff. So,
You're not RDPing into the servers? I mean, the horsepower isn't at the workstation, it's at the server, right?
yeah, the servers are going to have the most load for requirements on them. The desktops, we're moving more and more away from applications as far as actual programs running on them. The state's, a lot of their stuff is moving towards web-based. So the requirements of the desktop stations as far as how much memory and RAM they need are is not as heavy as it used to be. So,
Right. So that even makes it a stronger case for not replacing them just because they have a birthday.
yeah, and that's what I mean. I wasn't involved with all that stuff, and that's where I think we need to sit down and discuss that and go for is like, well, what's the criteria for a system being damaged? Meaning, okay, a hard drive goes out, it's X amount of years old. You know, we kind of. I don't want to have a hard line saying like, it's 4 years old, replace it. I don't think that's proper.
I don't think that's prudent.
I think I can, with my expertise, I can make recommendations saying, okay, this system is 4 or 5 years old. We've had a problem with it. Hard drive's out. The cost to replace a hard drive is X amount of dollars. It's not much more to get a new one. We get into a new warranty. Make a recommendation to actually get a new unit replaced based on the cost effectiveness of that. Some units, yeah, exactly. We have some computers that are pretty much just dummy terminals. They don't do much at all. They need to be there for some stuff for the public and some for just specific programs that the sheriff's department uses. We have a computer that's just isolated.
Can't you use thin clients for that?
And possibly we're looking at that's one of the options moving in the future too. The court system has actually went from they were running thin clients, now they're going back to desktops. So, but that stuff changes every year, and we're going to be reevaluating that I think on a yearly basis as far as what our requirements are, what we need to be doing and stuff. So, but you're right. It doesn't have to be a hard line. This needs to be replaced now. I think it should be based on number of tickets, number of problems we're having in the machine, something failing, components going down. Is it not powerful enough to run anymore? Or, so more than just one aspect, I guess I should say.
Did we go through this budget line by line under materials? So govern soft, that goes without saying, that's a software contract.
Yep.
State IT for $10,000.
Samantha, did you get a call or update on the actual confirmed news price on that, I guess, or?
Yep, and I actually came up with that number. I had to do my own math.
The state
The state IT went up for now.
Yeah, it started in their cycle.
So that's what they charge us for a WAN?
Yep. And that is actually shared across 3 departments, if I recall correctly. The North Dakota court system pays a portion of it, and is it Social Services pays some other department does, I believe, too. I'm not sure if it's Griggs County one, but we pay a share of that connection. And what that includes, not just the WAN, but the firewall system that the state provides as well. So it's an encompassing system then and the equipment that's here that covers that as far as all the other stuff sitting in there.
If there's other budgets that are covering part of this shouldn't be that number then, should it?
No, that's our share. I think it's a $3,000 a month connection or more, or 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
It's a dedicated private link that's mandated by the state of North Dakota that is done through, who's the phone company, the main big one in North Dakota here.
I just priced out a dedicated line and I didn't do it because it was that expensive.
Yeah, the state mandated that the minimum connection speed at all county facilities be 10 megabits per second. We were at 5 megabits per second before.
DCI.
And then they work with MLGC to hook in whatever equipment to get the last
DCN, Dakota Carrier Network.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But is it a duplication?
But you can get a VPN to run at 10 now, can you?
Well, the line connection I have in my office is a 200 megabit connection, and we're going to be moving to a gigabit here next year, 1,000 megs.
So why do we need to do?
Because the state mandates us. That's the only connection we can get. They won't let us do. We've already went through this. We were looking after that public connection, They don't want us to do that. We would have to get a what was it called? A waiver signed for that from the state. And to my knowledge, that was just for having a second connection in for public access. I'm not certain on the legality of if we could say we don't want this and we could go with another ISP. I don't know if the state will allow us to do that. I'm uncertain either way on that. So
One of those you gotta have it, figure out how to pay for it.
I think it is, yeah.
That's another one of them deals that somebody needs to push back.
Yeah, I don't know
And
what's
it's not your place to do that probably, but I mean,
I think it's, I understand there's what they're doing.
DCN have a good lobbying group.
Well, it might be it. I don't know. Because we keep moving to a faster and faster infrastructure. You see that everywhere in the public. I mean, obviously, the business line where you have dedicated lines are more expensive than the public stuff, but they're going down in price too.
No, but we don't have a dedicated line to our data center in Des Moines, Iowa. It's just a VPN tunnel.
Okay, and that's what we do too. So we purchase standard business class internet services, and then we tunnel all our traffic over VPN for that. So
I don't know why in the hell we couldn't do the same thing. Because some bureaucrat on that end says, no, you need to spend 40 grand a year?
I guess so. Like I said, I know for sure the North Dakota court system pays a portion of it, and I believe, this is a couple years ago when I was looking into it, I think there's a third entity that pays a share of it too, so. But.
What's the speed of Griggs County system today? They're fiber right to the building, right?
They're fiber, yeah, but they're only allowing us a 10 meg up and down connection, asymmetrical connection, 10 megabits per second, so.
But can't we buy a bigger one?
Yeah, we can get any other ISP. We have to get a waiver from the state of North Dakota, and then I'm not certain. See, what this 10,000 does also covers the firewall system compliances. So we would have to get our own firewall put in for that as well. Then, so we would have that additional cost. But
$2,500 for a firewall.
I know what you're saying about that. I don't know what we can. I could definitely look into that. I can make requests on that as far as. Are we required to have this connection, or can we do it ourselves? I don't know the answer to that, I guess.
And if they say we're required, tell them to show you the documentation.
Yes.
Show me the century code.
So tech support, that's just your services.
I had a question going back. In the county welfare budget, they've got $3,000 in for computer server charges and $3,000 in for computer software tech. I thought if the total cost of this IT landline is $10,000, and if we got $3,000,
no, our share is 10,000.
Our share is $10,000.
Yeah, I guess I know it was.
And then the county welfare board pays $3,000 on top of that. So altogether, between our two departments, we're paying $13,000.
Yeah, so they have WAN access is $490. So that'll be $1,500 a month then, I guess, for that connection. If it is split up 3 ways,
What are the share?
No, I can't. I thought there was another department. I'm not certain on that. I know for sure it is court system pays a portion.
So that's $18,000.
Yeah, so because since they have a court here, they pay a portion of.
So the court's paying 5, and the welfare's paying 3, and the county's paying 10, kind of deal. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's the number that I was looking for.
Yeah. And then we have 3 VPN clients, and then Active Directory users. So it's a total of $511.75 is for the monthly charge from ITD.
That's the state IT bill that you approved today. It's what.
And that is the updated new plan price then.
Yeah, because we don't approve anything in the court budget for those computer costs. It must be the state pays for them.
Yeah, we don't see that share. That's just handled by the
Okay.
They just take. I can get more detailed information on that. Might be the best way to put this. We can get, is it required? How much do we pay? Who else pays? Or what's the total cost?
Because I think when I was looking at that, it was going to cost us $2,800 a month, I think.
Okay.
But that was to Richardson, Texas. That was a lot more hops, but a lot more telcos.
Yeah.
But DCN was the one they were bundling in the whole thing.
Okay.
then on the tech support, is that, there's 3,000 in the county welfare budget, is that to pay you, and there's 12,000 here?
I believe that 3,000 just goes in the general budget. What we do is every year I submit, so my contract price, I portion that out based on number of desktops per department and just kind of the workload, kind of how it, share it up equally between each department. And sole service pays a portion of that back into the general fund then. So
Every single time that we get any invoices from Travis, I go through them, and whichever ones are for CWB, those get taken out of CWB's, and then the rest get taken out of the general.
Okay, you do that for the sheriff's department too?
He's in the general.
He's in the general.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah, the report I give Samantha is broken down by department.
Okay.
Information for that way you guys can have a better picture of what's going on.
And the road department's only got one computer, so it's probably not, and he doesn't use it that much, so
No.
probably pointless.
They have two.
Yeah.
Two systems there, but
Well, we could chisel this down some, can't we?
What's that?
The tech support.
Don't know. That's whatever it is.
that's not like I go and spend 12,000. That's just based on the last previous years. This is about what we spend based on break fix environment. Then so the idea is not to spend all of it. We just it's there for we use what we need to on it. Whatever is left is carried over then.
So the TJ server backup or contract, that's just the IT's portion of your contract.
Yeah, that contract is the retainer for doing work with us, and then that covers standard maintenance procedures, meetings like this. We don't charge you. This is part of our service to you guys. System updates, but servers have to be updated every month. That's included in that contract. We go out and push the updates to all the desktops.
But is that the total price of your contract or just the IT portion of your contract?
That's the yearly contract. So I'll submit that in January 1. We'll get a 14,000, whatever it is, and then anything above and beyond what is included in that contract is billed out to that 12,000 line.
Yeah, okay, got it. And server backup?
Server backup, the 4,500. That is the rent for the rack space for the backup server that's in my office. So the system here backs up to the equipment there. So you have an offsite backup for all your data.
So that goes to you though, the server backup.
Yeah, that's just that's a monthly fee that gets submitted to you guys for the rent, for power, space, connectivity into that. Then
server update.
Server update. We've been paying the Dell contract the last 3 years. That was about that portion, that 10,700. What we're planning on doing is the servers that we purchased with that Dell lease here. It replaced some PowerEdge 2100 servers. Those were re-provisioned to be the backup servers. That's the current ones we're using.
Mm-hmm.
Those are purchased back in 2006. The plan was once the lease or Dell payment was paid off, the next budget year we would replace the backup servers. Then those are running about 9 years old. Then so we've been having some problems with them this year. So they are definitely due to be upgraded. Then next year that 10,000 line is gone then, so that would cover those for that equipment, I guess, upgrade.
And Google.
That is our email.
Yep. Tyler Technologies.
They are. That's a software we use. I can't remember which department. Is that the
Tax director and clerk of court.
Clerk of court, I believe. That's the filing system. It's a license for them to keep document handling management. I believe was what it's.
Oh, that's a digitization business.
No, that's actually they digitize all records into the Tyler Technology system.
Right.
So, yeah, the Tyler Technology is the licensing for us actually having that on there. Then, so.
Okay.
That's a proprietary system or something?
Yeah, I guess it's just a management system. So there's client software that's on those clients for keeping track of all the records. So it's an indexed and searchable system, so we can go back and so I believe all the minutes are in there, all the department information, all the record keeping. So and that's an SQL database that we operate on the server. Then
Is that for the clerk record or is that for the?
I think it's clerk, recorder, and tax that we will have that software installed.
Is that Odyssey that we're paying for?
No, Odyssey is the
State pays for that?
state, I believe so. I don't think we have any bills for that. Odyssey is just for like a record or
Court system.
system record, yeah. So yeah, like Odyssey, we just get there's some software on Kelly's computer for her to access that as well as your office then.
Computers, that's pretty self-explanatory. Tech miscellaneous.
That was in there all the time. I guess I'm not certain what usually gets put under that or why it was there. I guess that could probably
Isn't
just.
that just like tech support?
I would say that probably could be rolled into tech support. Really, I mean, I don't know why it was set up as a line item for miscellaneous. I guess. I mean, you guys can split up how you want to put each line item so you keep track of more detailed information if you want, but it was there, I guess. So.
Have to run an
Yeah, the only
account.
thing we changed, I guess, was the WAN price increased from last year's budget.
I would say that tech miscellaneous is if somebody needs a new switch or a Cat 6 cable or, I mean, it's just a
the
catch-all.
penalties, yeah, probably the
Catch-all
petty
for
cash.
the little stuff.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it looks like to me, because nothing else really. If you were gonna do some of that other stuff, miscellaneous little things, it wouldn't fit to me.
Yeah, true. I guess I've had where, I've been asked to give 4 mice to have on hand for if something breaks one, or have a couple Cat 5 cables if something gets damaged. So that's probably right. That's probably where that gets pulled out of them.
But
So
isn't tech support service the same thing?
I can probably understand why you want to keep that separate. Tech support is actually, we're fixing a computer that's
Mostly labor stuff.
Yeah.
This is like an incidental.
I want to put a line through something though.
Can we add something? And that 10,789 for the server backup, I have not gotten actual prices from our distributor yet for that equipment. I got some just really rough numbers on it. We have a government discount on that. And I'm thinking that 10.7 is going to cover both the equipment and labor to do all of that from what I'm seeing right now. So.
Because you have to map that server, and it takes a long time to set up a server, right?
Yeah, the
Or maybe
backups.
not on that end, maybe.
Yeah, what we'll be switching to, I'm going to come to you guys and propose what equipment we're going to be using for that 10.7. And then we can go through exactly, benefits, pros, cons, what does it cover, what is it going to do for you?
I mean, if our server died here, can we run off that one? Is that thing operational, or is it just a warehouse?
It's just a data storage warehouse.
Okay.
So you're talking disaster recovery, and I think we should have a discussion about that too, as far as what we should prioritize for IT, as far as what would happen if the server goes down, how long will we be out, should we be making disaster recovery plans for that, for recovery stuff, so.
I don't know a lot about it. I got to ask a stupid question. So we have the server update, and that's going to update the backup server. So we have a primary server, a backup server.
Yeah,
And then we have the server backed up the third time in your office.
correct, so we're keeping it in, there's the local backup, and then there's the offset backup, so.
But I mean, so we actually have 3. Why do we?
No, let me redraw that. It's not really 3 locations. The software or equipment we'll be using is a NAS server, so just the storage array. The storage array has built-in backup software for deduplication and going across to the second NAS array anywhere in the world. That's going to be our main file storage system then. So it's going to be backing up the files there to the offsite.
And that's where?
And there's going to be one here, and there's going to be one in my office then. So there's duplication on that. And then the server itself, there's no files as like your My Document, your auditor's drive or whatever. That's all on the NAS. What the servers do then is they take a backup of themselves as far as their image state and put it on the NAS then, and then that gets pushed over. So the server states are in 3 locations. The files are in 2 locations, I guess. I don't know if that helped.
Well, I mean, my question is.
We're not running tape backups anymore.
No. My question is, would you have to lose 2 of the backups, and you'd still have one going? Or are we triple redundant, or are we double redundant?
We're just one time.
And each unit too has its RAID arrays, so we can lose hard drives and not lose data. That's the idea with anything. So.
Yeah, actually, you have 4 copies of everything in a NAS, because if you have 10 hard drives, they're a mirror of 5 mirrors of themselves, and then you're going to have the same thing down there.
Yeah, it's offsite for disaster, so.
So they're hot swappable. I mean, if a hard drive died, you could pull it out and stick a new one in, it would rebuild itself.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, that's my point, why are we spending $10,000 for to back up the backup servers when we already have a backup to it? I mean,
But because if the building burned down here, you wouldn't have anything.
Yeah, we still have it.
No, that 10,000 covers the equipment. Your guys' equipment is at my rack. It's not my equipment. So the $10,000 is 2 servers, one here, one there. So whatever on this one gets back up to my office then.
So then what's the server backup charge at $4,500?
Oh, that's the actual rental fee for it. So the power and the space taking up my rack then. So you physically are renting space from me. So it's like an apartment complex. Yeah, you own it. You own that. You own that rack to put your equipment into. I don't pay for your equipment. You can put whatever equipment you want in there then. So
we pay $4,500 for a space this big?
power and network connectivity is all included then.
Well, I know,
Generally it's, I think the rack, we're cheaper than when you would get any other rack space. We have, you guys have a discount on that then, so.
it couldn't be backed up at another county location. The rack space couldn't sit at the social services or at somewhere else and
It can,
okay,
if you have somebody to run it.
we're already paying somebody to run. I mean, it just seems to me the electricity and the connectivity isn't gonna equal $4,500, it's probably gonna equal $500.
It's, you're paying for battery backup systems, high-end, it's not just a corner, you plug something in. So conditional power, air conditioning, environmentally controlled, locked room, secured, there's camera systems. It's not just somebody's house, there's limited access to that room.
You don't have Hillary's email server in there, do you?
I don't think so. No, I do not. I'm sure without record.
If someone's got it, we won't find it. That's before they decided it was a bathroom in Colorado. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Okay. Anybody else have any more questions? Anything else for Travis? Okay.
And then you asked for a network diagram. I kind of just did a kind of quick overview as far as switches, servers, kind of the layout of how the network is doing them. So, since we have kind of a different, you guys want to copy this right away or just try or?
Not it.
Got it? I can get you this as a PDF electronic document. So it's just generic. There's no actual server information as far as security risks, as far as giving out names. But there is some equipment that's property of TJ Electronics. We put in some switches just to cover the transitional period between having the sheriff's and the SA office over there and kind of moving it. So that way you guys don't have to buy a bunch of stuff to then just have to use it for a short period of time. So I marked those. I think there's 3 switches that are our property. So.
This network looks like it could serve GM.
Put it done in black and white then, make it a little less dull.
No, I mean all these switches, holy smoke.
There's, like I said, there's 3 of them that are ours that are for just temporary use. And then like the one at Wayne's office is just an 8-port small switch.
So this is today.
Yeah, this is with all the extra equipment that we have, lines running between the 2 courthouses, the whole setup then. So.
But I mean, when everybody is in that building, there's going to be one big switch in there and one switch out at Wayne's probably, right?
Yeah, so we're not, well, that's one issue we're going to come up to. Depending on what's happening with Wayne, he's got a DSL link between.
I see that.
And I think it's a little over 1 meg connection. It's pretty slow. We were looking at upgrading that. That equipment was in before I was even here, so I started in 2006. the MLGC is moving to a all fiber optics, and I asked about, well, if we could just get a few pairs of copper between the two buildings, and we can just use what's called Ethernet over copper. The new equipment bonds a bunch of connections together. You can get a decent sized connection between that. The issue is the new courthouse does not have any copper coming into it from the phone company. It's all fiber. So I'm not sure how we're gonna get, that copper link. What's gonna happen? Is he gonna still be over there? And we have to look at an option as far as the idea was having the link between social services in his office. Since there's copper in those buildings, we just utilize that. But if social services is moving in over here, we'll lose that connectivity then. So we'll have to look at another option for him. And that might be wireless. That might be going through MLGC fiber. I did talk to
Willie.
I think he's the vice president for MLGC. I asked him about getting a point-to-point fiber optic connection. He came back with a rough estimate of about $1,000 a month for that connection. So a copper would definitely be more feasible for just one person sitting over there. So, like I said, that's dependent on how we move around with social services, I guess. So.
I suppose you could just have a VPN tunnel if you had to.
Yeah, we could. That's another option. So I'll just be doing a dedicated VPN with them, since it's just really two computers.
Right.
Then we would have the cost of just an ISP over there, standard ISP. So.
Be faster than 1 gig anyway.
And that's we have to look at all the options, and depending on what goes forward, we'll get proposals together as far as what would be cost comparison and best options. So.
Do you know how many workstations there are in the county?
Not off the top of my head, no. But, I can look that up. And that's part of what I want to talk to Samantha about too. I wanted to actually do a full inventory breakdown of everything and get that into our management software. So that way, every year when you guys need a system, we just print it out. Here you go. Here's all the active computers in.
Right.
So.
All of the servers are over here now?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, they're all virtualized into one box, or?
Most of them are. This is the virtual server then.
I see that.
So we have our main Active Directory, our web server, application server, that's all our SQL systems, and then file server. So that's that PowerEdge 2900. That's the unit we'll be replacing with. We're proposed to replace it. And that's the other PowerEdge 2900 that's in my office that we wish to replace, I guess. And the fax server, we purchased that last year as we got a refurbished Dell system. It's it's handling faxes for 4 departments, I believe, so it was pretty inexpensive. So that way everything's electronic faxing then in the building. And the phone server is your voice over IP internal phone system that connects into a MLGC's network then. So our phones can plug in anywhere in the courthouse.
So there is a disk array that is only a backup here too?
Yeah, what we did was
here?
we provisioned. We had the old PowerEdge 2900 servers we were using for our primary servers were provisioned as backup systems. So there's a standard server that has a backup software installed on it.
This one's here?
Yep.
So there's a NAS here?
No, this is just a standard server with no NAS in it. It just has arrays in it. So So what I'm proposing is replacing the backup server with a NAS. The NAS would be to serve both purposes, both as the actual main file storage as well as.
So this one will go away and it would be here?
No, these both would go away and they would be replaced with two new servers. That's what that 10,700
Do we
covers.
really need that?
Those are your backups. So
I don't, do we need 2 backups?
but if you didn't store it off-site, then you run the risk of if it's not here and it had catastrophic failure, meaning like I said, courthouse burns down, we wouldn't have any data then. We'd lose all our systems.
No, but we just have one.
That's
We
not
just
a
have
failure,
the live one here and backup in your office.
No, the NAS would actually have the actual files on it. So the servers would be pointing to the NAS as the actual file storage system.
Oh, okay.
And then the file storage system, Netgear is the one that actually has the software, the equipment we're looking at doing. The nice thing about it, they combine both your network attached storage and your backup system into one unit then. So the backups are included with that equipment. They do it internally.
Okay.
So a nice thing about that is we're not paying another additional license for backup system as well, or backup software. We're kind of using it for dual purpose then.
We have an HP ProLiant and the NAS is just right in the box. You know, the hard drive.
Oh yeah, I mean the virtual server has the hard drives too in it. What the NAS is doing is it'll take file servers off of that, so we're not having to add more hard drives to that server. The NAS is taking over a lot of the load as far as the actual file storage. And then the virtualization system, and then the fax server, and then the phone server will be backing up to that NAS to take duplicate, and then everything will be dumping off at my office then.
Okay.
And yeah, like the first 3 pieces of equipment too, those are the state's property. That's the state's router, managed switch, and modem that they have in our rack.
You have a modem in there?
Well, I call it a modem. It's DCN has their fiber optic connection comes in, and then they come out with the Ethernet cable into the state's router, and then the state goes to a managed switch, and then we get a Cat5 cable from them from that managed switch. The managed switch does also the TV systems, the two-way video conference systems. They have special priority connections to that, so or routes to that. Then, so we plug into their managed switch with that.
All right. Any other questions for Travis? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep. And just let me know as far as if you're going to make changes to that backup software stuff. If you're not, we'll be going forward here probably around December to get requests for quotes from the distributors. So that we can present that in January then.
Yeah, this budget's gotta be finalized by the 10th of October, so.
Yeah,
it'll
we'll figure it out.
Do we
Okay.
want Travis to stay for this for the NRG discussion? No?
Yeah, for just a while, I mean, I don't know, if this is.
I don't think there's enough information there to look at anyway.
No, I mean, what I would like to do is have Travis make a comparison between what he offers and what they're offering.
could do that.
How do you compare it? I
Well,
understand it's just an unsolicited presentation, but, yeah. Hard to compare apples to apples when they don't have apples.
Basically, they charge more.
Do I need to make a revision to my budget then, or?
It's kind of hard.
At your own peril.
For backup, they charge $59.76 a year,
Yeah.
monthly maintenance.
Oh, I guess I'll put on that too, that the backup servers that we're looking at replacing, they have a 5-year warranty from Netgear for any equipment failure. So, and we'll probably be running those longer than 5 years for sure. I mean,
I would think.
the nice thing about them, they can be expanded as far as more capacity. What's that?
How many total servers?
Physical servers that are that you guys own right now are 5 physical servers. And then we have, one of the servers is a virtualization system that has several virtual OSs running on it then, so.
That's why I asked how many workstations there were. Because these guys sent us a letter, and it's always prudent in the government world to compare.
Oh, yeah, you guys have to do your due diligence to make sure that I'm not putting over a barrel. I mean, exactly that, you gotta go be able to tell your, the voters that, no, we're getting a good price, or no, we're not, we're gonna be switching, so. And I have no problem comparing and feeding with them.
And they priced it on a per PC basis, per month kind of
Okay.
deal. Well, I don't know how many PCs is we're talking about.
I probably can get you a pretty quick estimate here, to give you about 5-10 minutes. I can run down and grab my.
I mean, is it 40 or
They're around between 35, probably, I would say, or something around there.
35?
Why don't we just have Travis take this proposal and
Oh, we can do that.
equate it into what he yells and give us a breakdown.
Okay.
What I do, what they do.
For what you have right now, what would it cost if we had them do it?
Okay.
If we gave us a price, then we can,
Then we can sleep easier.
well,
Not that I don't sleep good anymore.
and I assume you'll do the appraisals if someone's looking over your shoulder.
Because it is, it's all public record, so. If I lie, I get caught, so. Search no purpose. No, we've been, what was it, coming up on 10 years with you guys here.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but I definitely understand we gotta be competitive, we can't be, just because I've been here 10 years doesn't mean I'm always in a contract, so.
Well, the one thing you should address, and I think the biggest selling point they have is the size of the organization, where there is,
35 counties.
well, no, the size of the organization. If Travis should go away, God forbid something happens to Travis, who takes over? Is there redundancy within your organization? So
Yeah, no,
that's
that's good
good
selling.
selling.
I do want to grow my company. We're in West Fargo now, which is more
Yeah.
recently. I am looking at, hopeful to be hiring more people here next year. That's depending on how many more contracts I get. So, yeah, there's possibility that if something does happen to me, you guys are
Yeah.
in bad shape or bad position. I think we can address that in many ways as far as, you could have, like, I think we need to upgrade our password book. It's a book I usually put out to all my contracts. It has all the information, so if you need to take it to another organization, here's all the detailed technical information that they understand, and they can get in there and be able to do what you need. You're not just coming on from the ground, you actually have some knowledge that goes in there, so.
Okay. Well, tell us what the differences are. Next time you come back. What's next?
St. Olaf's starting to do some gambling.
Yep, church.
Churches are gambling again.
Sure.
I just have a quick question about this, like, stuff. Is he supposed to come back to me next week before we do this budget, or is this budget going to be okay? Because we're going to have to approve the budget by next week. I have to get it in the paper. So just kind of making sure that the IT budget is good for now.
Yeah, I
I
think
think so.
This isn't something that has to be discussed before.
No,
this will be just down the road sometime.
Okay.
We'll just discuss it in the month ahead.
This is more a category of due diligence.
Perfect.
If we change it, it'll go down.
Yeah, good point. We wouldn't change it, spend more money.
Okay, right, duh.
I guess I'd make a motion, we approve the application for the charity permit for St. Olaf's Church.
Been moved by John to approve the charity permit for St. Olaf's Church. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jamestown Community Corrections, Jamie.
I spoke with the outdoor coordinator today about it. Virtually what he said, it pretty much they administer the entire community service program instead of court having to do it. So I take that away from the clerk of court. Give me a cell phone number if you guys want to speak to them or anything. But virtually that's what they do. They administer the program or any community service hours that are given out by the court. Instead of clerk of court, they I guess the one thing that I'm concerned about is liability of the county or liability of any organizations that people go work for if they get hurt and their workers' comp doesn't cover it. That's the only thing I'm concerned about, and community corrections does do that.
I had couple questions. First of all, is this mandatory, this fee, and it's not. They will administer this program whether we pay them or not.
Well, I don't know if they will or not. I think normally Kelly is going to keep track of it.
No, it's funded under 12.13207 paragraph 2. The court shall order supervision costs and fees of not less than $55 per month, and this is enforced in the same manner as a civil judgment. They were awarded a contract by the Southeastern District. So whether we pay for this or not, the program stays in place.
Well, and we still can administer community service.
No, they will still do it. They've been charged by the district to do it. They just want our involvement as a donation, basically. It's under. It said read 12.103207, and the court appointed them as the administrator for that district.
12.13207, you said?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the court pay for it?
No, they charge the defendant the fees. So when you go to sing for alcohol evaluation, you have to pay the costs.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I didn't go.
Did you send him a check?
So basically they were off. They're given the contract, and then they get to charge for the services.
And why would we send them money?
Because the way it looks to me, because they asked and we decided to do it. They're a non-for-profit that was basically given the privilege of administrating this for the South Central or Southeastern District. Yeah, the way it looks to me, and Jamie can prove me wrong. Or more likely pretty easy to do
I'm
that,
actually not certain about it.
yeah, I just did a little research on it this morning. That's the way it looks to me.
Okay.
I do know that there are quite a few counties. I think there are 6 counties in the district or something that he said contracted with them. That's
Yeah, but the judge if the judge sends them for alcohol evaluation, whether or not we participated or not doesn't matter because it's not Griggs College, it's the court.
well, and it doesn't make any difference if that's someone that's assigned to community service. Still have to do community service, so it is.
But they manage it. These guys don't manage it anyway, because they'll charge the defendant for the community service. That's where they make their money. They have the ability to charge the defendant. I think it's another one of those mini bureaucracies that feeds off the bigger bureaucracy.
Save us $3,854.
But I mean, Jimmy better figure out for that. If it's,
Well, we don't have. It's up to you guys. I mean, it's up
but I mean, as far as the workman's comp and everything like that, they're still covered under that because it'll still be administered through this Jamestown Community Corrections.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
And if we want some more information, I didn't get a whole pile of information from him. We can call him. He's available if they want to call.
See, it's a business to them.
It is.
The court just gave them the right to run the business in this area.
Right, but they don't work for Griggs County.
No, they work for the court. They're a non-for-profit, so they have the ability to send out this letter. This is just a
So this is a donation.
absolutely. But we better verify that first, but I think all the services, it's in their best interest to provide the services because they get paid for providing the services from the participants.
It's not
saying
something,
they might not threaten us.
it's not a mandatory program.
Hmm?
It's not a mandatory program to enter into. I don't think, even if, like I said, even if they won't administer it, it still can be done through the clerk of court's office.
No, they have to administer it. They were given the charter to administer it by the court.
Not that I'm not sure of.
That's the way it reads the regulation. The court can do it, or they can fund it. They can farm it out. But anyway, I mean, we got some time.
So we gotta skip it again?
I can even skip it until we see it's mandatory. But I'm almost positive from reading that they'll administer the services.
Well, and maybe that's why the agreement is so ambiguous, because you're not really buying anything.
No.
I couldn't even figure out what we're agreeing on.
Where that statute, John? I'm just trying to find it.
Is it this one? What you talking about?
12.1-32-07.
I'll just do this.
So in essence, we want $5,000
Yeah.
to administer this program that we're already having our clerk of court.
Yeah.
administer. So why would we want?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me because it's rated in statute, but the court has the ability to do it.
Right. I mean, that's what I said. I think it's just a donation. I think it's a bureaucracy that.
Found another tap. and they
Well, the minute
opened it.
I saw it was a non-for-profit, I smelled rat.
Are they incorporated as a building authority?
Anyway, I don't know what to think about that, but
Okay, well, we'll sit on it.
it could be a savings.
State Fair delegate.
I got a hold of Kelly Hansen yesterday, and he agreed that he would be our delegate again if you guys so wish.
I move we appoint Kelly as state fair delegate.
Been moved by Sean that we appoint Kelly Hansen delegate for the State Fair for 2016.
16.
How come it says 2014 on this letter?
He was our 2014 delegate.
We didn't have one in 15?
Yeah, he was too on 15. Sure.
Maybe it's a typo.
Yeah.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Kelly.
Each county got 3 delegates appointed and invited. It's mandatory to appoint them, then you have to invite.
Yeah, we don't want you. That's good.
Kelly, go up there and represent us. There we go.
With me.
I still follow on the agenda.
Yeah, you're still there. That was it. That was it.
Well, the next thing in my packet is this
Yep.
Well,
insurance thing.
I just have the 2016 budget. If you guys wanted to talk about when you guys wanted to have a special meeting
Oh,
next
sure.
week. We'll be getting the state is going to be meeting on Monday to either increase our stuff or whatever.
Our millage.
Yeah, and so
Evaluation.
so then kind of need to meet sometime next week so that I can get the advertisement to the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, that, the only thing it'll affect are where we're up against a mandatory mill levy. Or up against the top limit of a mill levy, right, Ron?
Yeah.
So it isn't much.
Okay. Well, do we just want to play that one by ear, or can we set a date right now?
That's totally up to you.
Well, we need to see what they do. If they haven't been too punctual.
We don't know if they're gonna make it happen on Monday, so if we had set up a meeting for Tuesday, we might not know any more than we do today.
Yeah, I think that's very.
So let's just wait, and if they do their deal, then we'll deal with it.
Yep.
It'll be just to set a meeting date is all?
Well,
No, we'll have to get together and go through the budget and approve it.
to make sure that it's
Oh.
correct.
Make
you're-
sure that we aren't exceeding any of the
With
maximums.
the value,
And then it just has to be advertised for a week, and then your public hearing will be on October 9th.
And then we approve it.
that's our final approval.
Amend and approve it.
Okay? Old courthouse, new courthouse,
Is that where this?
insurance, must be.
Yep.
What's the word?
I put in here Amber Delph's email to me on that. So that's so on page 21 is her email to me that had this attachment.
So the insurance is due on the new building? And the premium is gonna go down if we were in there, but we're not.
Right, but I think, yeah, I think when we move in there, I think that it'll get reduced, I think it'll get reduced, so I don't think it's a one-time premium. I think they'll adjust it. I think. When is it due, when's the due date?
September 12th is the policy.
Oh, yeah.
September 12th to March 12th
This is
is the policy term.
But the quote expiration date is October 11th, 2015.
Makes sense.
We didn't pay it, did we, already?
I want to say that we paid it in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was paid, I mean, it's on a 6-month basis.
And then on the back it says quote date,
Yeah.
9/11, and then in the front, quote expiration date of 10/11.
Right.
So is the policy in effect till?
I think it's in, I don't know. It's a 6-month policy, 9/12 to
3/12.
3/12, 15 or 16. 9/11. Quote date 9/11. I would say they got behind and forgot to send it out till the day before it was due.
Well, do we need to pay this today?
It's not a bill, it's a quote.
But it says premium due.
Where is it? That one?
Well, on the first page.
No due date, no nothing.
No.
Well, on the top, it's a full expiration date of 10/11, so I mean,
It can't be expired yet.
The term of the policy is from 9/12 to 3/12. though.
I think we need a little more info.
We need to know what they want. I can't tell.
find out on Monday.
Say what?
You'll find out on Monday.
Absolutely.
Better spend the weekend in the building before it starts fighting and put it all.
Those are those other reviews.
Yeah.
All right.
New courthouse, old courthouse.
Well, I think, I'm not positive, but I think electrically and mechanically and fire alarm wise, I think it's done. I don't know.
There's no charge to the fire suppression system.
Oh, okay, so then,
I don't know who we need to get a hold of.
I don't either.
Might have to look back in the contract, see who the subcontractor was.
I would guess the fund would be Simplex.
I don't- For the fire sprinkler system?
Well, and the fire alarms. So somebody needs to teach somebody how to run that outfit.
Yeah. I know there was a fire sprinkler contractor, I can't think of their name, but it wasn't Simplex, but.
Simplex is a brand, they're not the contractor
That
that
might be
installs it.
what Bergstrom probably installed the Simplex system?
No,
Oh,
no, that, I walked around the building with that electrician yesterday and he didn't know who put it in.
okay, are they done, Bergstrom?
Well, they're done with the EOC.
Okay, I mean, so as far as they, he's not planning on, he doesn't have anything else to fix, in other words.
Well, no, I mean, in the courthouse portion, if that ever gets going again, I mean, there's air conditioning to wire in and there's some things to do there, but
But as far as Bob and Jamie moving in there, we gotta call Simplex or somebody, or,
well, the water for the fire suppression system comes in that closet way over on that end. And I don't know who has to get that stuff ready to go.
it's not simply turning on a valve, I take it.
Well, it doesn't look like that. I mean, there's logic panels in there and I don't know how to run all that stuff.
Well, hell, was that Schultz? No, they wouldn't.
No.
Is Schultz done, I think?
I don't know, yeah, I presume he is.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
No, that would be a separate contract, and the water's off, because I turned it off. I turned the big main valve off in there, because we didn't know how warm it was gonna be over there, and we didn't want it freezing, and it wasn't operational anyway, it wasn't armed.
No, it's not ready to go.
No, so the water's off.
Well,
We'll check on it one day.
yeah. And then as far as, I was asking that electrician about inspection, and he might be coming next week. He was gonna try to get the inspector. He tried to get the inspector there yesterday, but it didn't work out for him.
Okay.
And then as far as a certificate of occupancy, I don't know. The city doesn't have any of that kind of.
No, if the I thought maybe the electrical inspector would give us one, but maybe he just signs off with the permit.
I don't know if there's a state building inspector that would sign off on the building as far as an occupancy permit. I know there's not a city inspector, but that's how it's done in the bigger towns,
Yeah. Yeah, I think if the electrical guy signs off on it, I think we're done.
Well, I mean, I moved into my house probably a year before the electrical inspector came. Oh, yeah, that doesn't mean nothing. I mean, they're so far behind anyway.
So that'll be taken care of, and then we don't even need to contact Schultz for anything, I think.
All right, no.
But he's done as far as we know, so it's mainly to call that fire sprinkler guy, and I could look up the name of the fire sprinkler contractor.
Okay.
And like John said, Monday, we can,
I was looking for a sticker or a card or something on that equipment over there. You know, usually with those specialty guys, when they get done, they put,
Service number and stuff.
yeah,
yeah,
I couldn't find anything.
well, do we have the, like, well, from Agassi Mechanical, do we have all the manuals on how that stuff works? Like, they should have left us a booklet of manuals for the furnaces and stuff like that.
I didn't look. I mean, those transfer switches is what we were working with yesterday, and the schematics and all the operating manuals are they're in the switch box. You know,
For the
they're in
electrical
the,
part of it.
they're in the cabinets. Yeah.
Yeah, it just, Agassi probably owes us some manuals. We could contact him Monday too, I guess, and just say, we don't have the manuals.
Interstate Power Systems came up yesterday.
I just Googled it. Can you do it there?
Don't know who you got. No, they're just looking for business. Interstate Power Systems they terminated the wiring on the control side, and Bergstrom's terminated the wiring on the generator end and on the inside the building. We started it up and tested it, and they programmed it to run every other Tuesday at 9 a.m. for 20 minutes or a half hour. So I didn't know when to schedule it, and I was the only one there. But I thought it made sense to have it when there's people around, so if something does go wrong, we get it fixed. One thing that we noticed, before it gets cold out, we're gonna need to put a new battery in that thing. That battery is pretty weak. But other than that, it went well.
Is somebody supposed to observe it and make sure it starts at 9 o'clock Tuesday, or we just assume it does?
Well, if somebody's here, they'll know it, because it's gonna switch the building over to generator.
This building, that building, okay. I didn't know if that was a task for Samantha to make sure the generator kicks in at 9 o'clock Tuesday.
She'll hear it.
You'll hear it. So make sure you make a note of hearing the generator.
The transfer switch logs, all that.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yep.
If that's the case, then we don't need her to do it.
Should I listen for it at
Sure.
9 o'clock? Okay.
The one thing that Ralph told me, the low fuel alarm
Yeah.
on those generators
Yeah.
comes on at 3/4 of a tank. So when I had Samantha order fuel, I had them. It's a 196 gallon tank,
Oh, okay.
and we put 100 gallons in there. So I silenced the alarm. Otherwise, you'd hear it when you walk by it on the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I told them guys, well, we're not going to put fuel in this thing until it starts getting cold out, so we can put number 1 in it. Because you can't even buy number 1 in town right now. So somebody needs to remember to put fuel conditioner in it and then fill it with number 1, so it isn't just straight 2 in there. And then open up that door where the control panel is on this end on the parking lot side and switch that alarm over to normal so it's not buzzing.
Could we have somebody like Harold just stop by and top it off every couple of weeks or once a month? Or,
Well, it shouldn't really use much fuel.
but I mean, if as soon as it gets down 1/4 of the tank, the alarm will
That's
come on.
50 gallons, you can run that thing a long time on 50 gallons.
So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe once every 3 months or something. You ought to stop by. He can just take a look at the gauge and see how full it is, and if it's down
Maybe.
close, he can put some in.
the people in the building are gonna know when that, cause there's an annunciator panel in the building.
Okay.
So there's gonna be a audible alarm in there when that thing gets down to 3/4 of a tank. I mean, they can just call 90 and tell them to come blow some fuel in there.
Okay.
Make it all winter before it even gets low. There's a lot of 20-minute intervals on 50 gallons.
So,
Well, that does kind of remind me, when you mentioned the noise, weren't we saying that there was too much noise from those units on the wall?
you know, did you notice that he put a new one up there?
Yeah, I did.
That thing is absolutely silent.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that noise in the building yesterday. I wonder if there wasn't something wrong with that compressor.
He thought, when I talked to Schultz about it, he thought there was probably air in the system causing that.
Oh, okay.
Causes
Vibration.
vibration on the balance. He said a lot of times after the charge, it'll take a while, off and on, off and on, off and on, a few times till it works air out of the system.
Because it's a scroll compressor in those,
Right.
right? Yeah.
So we probably don't need to do anything.
Well, it didn't seem like it was a big deal yesterday. And before long, they're not gonna run for the rest of the winter anyway, so we can kind of deal with it in the spring if we need to.
Yeah, if there's a problem, we just have to deal with it.
Anything else on the new courthouse, old courthouse?
Well, on A&A Landscaping, they gave me a price of $380
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about
to
that?
do to plant grass. But we would need somebody to water it besides Samantha probably. Because I imagine it has to be watered every day, I suppose. And the $380 doesn't include watering. They said they would seed grass for $380 because somebody would have to water it.
That wasn't part of the bid.
No, it wasn't.
He asked me if we wanted it sodded yesterday. He said it would only be $140 more to sod it. Then you'd really have to water it, but
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
do we have to bid that?
Well, no, I don't think so. I don't know.
No, it's not over $3,000, is it?
Well,
So I guess the decision is sod or seed.
Yeah.
And I really think if, you know, when I seeded my grass in my yard after we built our house, I seeded it the 1st of November and I never ever watered it. It's never been watered yet.
Yeah.
It seems like in the spring it just comes up nice when the ground is all
It's ready.
moist and it's cool enough outside so it doesn't get baked.
Yeah, and I suppose we could have Brian seed it, maybe. If we wanted to, we wouldn't have to have A&A do it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like very good dirt.
Doesn't
I
it?
think he went and dug some sand out of a sand ridge up there. North of town. It looks pretty.
Looks like it could blow away.
Oh yeah. He didn't get it from my house, I can tell you that. I know where he got it from. Jason told me where he got it from.
Mm.
Up north of Roy Simonson's quarter there, in them tree rows.
Mm.
You know where Tom owns that quarter of CRP?
Yeah.
Right on the other side of the Prairie Road.
Oh, okay.
maybe we could just have them seed it. We don't.
Okay, say your wishes.
Just have A&A seed it. And then not worry about watering it.
I wouldn't. I mean, I just have them do it in
Little
a month
later,
from now.
Okay, I can tell them that, to do it
Dormant seed it.
mid-October or something, yeah.
I would wait until the first part of November, so it can get warm again.
Yeah.
Okay, just tell them.
And then a snowbank on the side of the road will water it just next spring.
But I guess to get reimbursed, we need him to
Bill us.
bill us.
Can't do that.
You know, I can't do it. Yeah, you're right, we can't.
Well, it's
So-
$380.
Yeah, so we
We just
just,
have them seed, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
okay, just tell them to come out and seed it.
It'll come up, and if we get some rain, it'll be
Oh,
fine.
yeah, come out and seed it.
Is it leveled off nice?
I haven't looked at it.
No.
I didn't think so.
Leveling, yeah.
Dale and I looked at
Yeah,
it.
it needs to be rated again.
They
Oh,
have to
okay.
rake it in, to put the seed on there, they'll rake it in. It's
Sure.
okay.
All right. Motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll move that we authorize A&A to seed the grass for $380.
Been moved by Ron to ask A&A to go ahead and seed the grass in the boulevards on the EOC centers. Or second to the motion?
I'd say.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Sean, Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Anything else on the courthouse? New courthouse or old courthouse?
How much did you say that was for?
380, I'm just about positive. No, I don't think so. We talked about the furniture and all of that stuff that we need.
Oh, did he fix those downspout? Those little concrete?
Well, that's just with the, I think we should have him back here and have him level off the sheetrock. He didn't do a very good job of that. It's not level at all.
I talked to him when he was working out here. He came and talked to me when we were working on that generator yesterday, and I told him we needed more rock up against the building on this side, and to smooth that out.
And then the concrete downspouts run the wrong way.
All them concrete. So I said we'd like the water to run away from the building.
Yeah.
So he was going to do that.
Okay.
So we'll see if he got it done, or if he remembered. You know, he was kind of working on the dirt.
Right.
He came to ask me about sodding. That's why he came to talk to me.
Oh, especially up front, the gravel was really, it wasn't very level.
Yeah, that was Austin? Or-
Yeah.
Okay. So he'll come back and level the downspouts and rake the gravel and
Yeah.
seed it and rake the dirt a little bit from the seed.
Okay.
What else we gotta do, Jamie, to move in?
I don't know anything.
Is there a moving expense? Because that could probably be reimbursable if we did it before September 30th. If we hired a moving company to move.
I'm not necessarily sure that we want to be in. Do we have to be in by the end of the month?
Well, no.
No, we have to be done with it. We just can't send anything in after that, right? We don't have to occupy it. I don't think we're going to need a moving company, Ron,
Okay.
because if the EOC gets new furniture,
Yeah.
he's going to be moving his pens and pencils.
Yeah, and then, well, and computers, and Travis is gonna move the computers.
Yeah, I don't think there's much, the only thing left is there's some rotary file cabinets still have to move, but I mean, they can get
But
that.
those, I don't even know where those are at yet.
I found them.
Yeah, I saw them out there too, they're big.
Yeah, they're big. They're out at the old loader building.
Yeah. You're-
He found them.
Well, there's
I
another.
had a lot of tracking down to find it. It was confidential information.
I think they're big enough files to serve eastern North Dakota, aren't they? I mean, you could put a lot of stuff in this one.
I could get in that file cabinet.
Maybe that was the plan.
Yeah, that's. Instead of calling them, I said, "Yeah, we go look at them." You like to make stuff a cat into a pipe.
It might be scratched.
Go on.
Anything else?
I think that's it, I mean.
I'll move we adjourn.
Been moved by Sean that we adjourn.
Oh, wait, one more thing I should say. I forgot it. Last week I filed a motion for summary judgment on the lawsuit for the courthouse.
Yeah, we knew that.
Okay.
I think he told us that at our last meeting already.
Nope.
No, I hadn't done, I was going to, but I did
Oh,
last week.
okay.
I filed a motion, it got served, I've got 30 days to respond to it.
Okay.
We good?
What's
We're
that?
having a weed meeting after this. We can talk about it at the weed meeting.
Okay.
Maybe. It ain't on the agenda though.
I know. I don't know if this is a weed board thing or if it's the commissioner. Or-
It'll wait. We're having a special meeting next week. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any discussion?
I'll second it. I don't think anybody did.
Oh, okay. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Call the weed